Doojin is known for her talent and beauty, attracting media attention wherever she goes. For some reason, after winning 2 awards, she chose to retreat behind the scenes and start a management company. In stark contrast to Doojin's dazzling fame is Xiaoda, just a trainee participating in the preliminary selection. Despite Xiaoda's amazing performance, Doojin ruthlessly eliminated him. Can you believe it? Xiaoda was heartbroken and couldn't accept the result, immediately protesting. Later, he even went so far as to stop Doojin in the middle of the night. Like a desperate drama king, Suoda's impulsive act, believe it or not, started an endless entanglement between the two. The plot twist begins. The story begins with our female lead, Doojin. She's a super pretty high school student, drowning and desperately calling for help. Help. Is anyone there? As if someone really heard her, she stretched out her hand with the last of her strength, trying to figure out who was calling her. Who's calling me? She thought, but it was too late, her consciousness quickly fading. Doojin thought, it's over, I'm going to die. This is so bad. Fortunately, it was just a nightmare. She woke up abruptly with a scream, her whole body trembling, still shaken. Even now, as a big star in the entertainment industry, that past still haunts her. Doojin fiddled with her hair, impatience written all over her face. A girl with purple hair next to her, seeing this, quickly ran over and asked with concern, "Teacher Do, are you all right?" She composed herself and replied, "I'm fine. What's up?" It turned out the girl was a coordinator who said with a smile, "The 7-star selection is about to start. Director Lai asked me to inform you. Please come to the venue." Doojin casually put on her sunglasses and said indifferently, "Got it, let's go." A large group of people were waiting outside the door. As soon as she came out, everyone was stunned, surprised, and excited, their eyes almost popping out. Doojin's beauty was truly breathtaking. The crowd immediately swarmed around her, taking pictures and chattering, creating a noisy scene. "Oh my God, I heard there was a special mentor today. I didn't expect it to be Doojin. Is that really Doojin? You haven't heard. 3 years ago, she won 2 awards and suddenly disappeared. Now she started her own company, and everyone in the industry is trying to curry favor with her. But she's notoriously aloof and doesn't care about anyone." Soon, they arrived at the audition venue. The stage and setup were impressive, but still under preparation, with no judges or audience present. She glanced at the contestants backstage who were touching up their makeup, muttering to herself, "Does the market really like these fresh-faced pretty boys with red lips and white teeth?" Everyone's wearing heavy makeup. Suddenly, her gaze landed on a unique figure. Who's this? It was a handsome contestant with grayish-green hair. Unlike the others who were busy with their makeup, he sat quietly by himself. He was focused on the necklace in his hand, looking particularly relaxed and attractive. Suddenly, he noticed someone was watching him and looked up. Doojin didn't look away, just twirled her hair thoughtfully. She looked down at the number plate on his chest. Number 24, Zwoda. So this handsome guy was called Zwoda. Soon after, the preliminary selection officially began. The first contestant stepped onto the stage and introduced himself. "Hello, mentors. I'm a trainee from Hwacheong Entertainment." After a tone-deaf performance, Doojin raised her elimination card and commented, "Can't reach the low notes, can't reach the high notes, and the mid-range is unstable." Next, then, contestant number 2 performed a bizarre rendition of Swan Lake, and she covered her face in exasperation. Can't even keep up with the music with the basic moves. Eliminated. Contestant number 3 wasn't much better, with the same result. Doojin frowned in annoyance. "You call that rap? It's worse than the street hawkers selling candied hawthorns." Eliminated. Just like that, dozens of contestants were eliminated one after another. Her face turned green with exhaustion, thinking these people deserve to be called trainees. The director couldn't stand it any longer from the audience, grabbed the phone, and yelled at the host. This round was supposed to select 77 people out of 107, but Doojin has already eliminated 8 in the first group alone. Besides, didn't I already mark the people who can't be eliminated on the list? If you continue recording like this, what's the point of filming the show? 1,100 whales were wasted. But Doojin didn't care about anyone. But the director wouldn't let him off the hook either. "I don't care. If you let her keep eliminating like this, you'll be packing your bags too." Finally, it was Wada's turn. He brought his own protagonist aura, focusing everyone's attention on him. He flashed a charming smile and confidently introduced himself. "Hello, mentors. I'm trainee number 24, Wada." Jean scrutinized him, finding him familiar. I wasn't wrong, she thought. Number 24 really does resemble him. Even their smiles are almost identical. She reviewed his application, which detailed his background. Zwit, 24 years old, graduate of the Central Academy of Fine Arts, majoring in oil painting. Jean was shocked, an art student auditioning for this. Chin in hand, lost in thought, her mind raced with questions about him. Zwita announced confidently, "My performance is meteor." His first move was a powerful one-handed handstand, a necessary element of the dance. Zwita executed a sharp, impressive one-handed spring with ease. The three judges were captivated. "Wow, number 24 is incredible," they exclaimed. With his skills, he could easily be a breakdancer. Why is he auditioning for this? He finished with a graceful, swan-like pose, nearly moving the judges to tears. His performance was simply too brilliant, too captivating, unparalleled. Zwita completed his flawless performance. Breathless from the demanding, explosive movements, sweat trickled down his handsome face, adding to his allure. He glanced at Jean, seeking her reaction, but she seemed unimpressed. "What's wrong with teacher Jean?" He worried. "I haven't offended her. Why has she been giving me the cold shoulder since I came on stage?" The host approached, enthusiastically praising Zwita. "Wow, that was a fantastic performance." He frowned at her attitude, but reassured himself. "It's fine." She was fair in her assessment of the first two groups. "Besides, as long as the other judges aren't blind, I'll definitely make it through the preliminaries." He snorted confidently. So this is the challenge of the entertainment industry, he thought. Nothing to it. He stood tall, proudly awaiting the results. The host announced, "Judges, please cast your votes for contestant number 24. 2 judges voted him through, 2 voted to eliminate him. Only Jean remained undecided." Zwita anxiously awaited the final decision. She spoke, "My vote is to eliminate." She raised the elimination card. Everyone was stunned. He was so shocked he nearly choked. Everything had gone against his expectations. Chowda felt hurt and angry, bitterness churning inside him. "Take back what I said earlier. She's not fair at all. Fair, my foot." As the host was about to announce the final result, he stormed onto the stage, startling the host. "I object to this result." The host trembled, trying to stop Zwita number 24 But Jean seemed to anticipate his words. "Let him speak," she said. He explained, slightly flustered, "I clearly have the skills. My movements weren't excessive, and I had enough power. If I'm eliminated, why did the previous contestant, who wasn't as good as me, advance?" She didn't argue, but responded immediately. "As you said, your movements were precise, but beneath the technique, you lacked the most crucial element." Jean calmly asked, "Do you truly have stage presence?" Gesturing towards the eliminated contestants, she continued, "Regardless of the previous contestants' performances, I could see at least some passion and enthusiasm in their eyes." Jean crossed her arms, her voice low, "But you have none." Suwada was speechless. She had spoken the truth. He muttered to himself, "I didn't expect to be so thoroughly crushed." Tension filled the cliched audition room. The host nervously called out, "Contestant number 2024, please come to the stage." But instead of anger, Zwida chuckled with amusement. "Now, this is interesting." Dejected, he left the stage. The host continued as if nothing had happened. "Now, let's welcome our next contestant." Late into the night, the preliminary auditions ended, and Jean left the company with her assistant. She decided to wear a mask to conceal her identity and avoid being recognized. Jean walked quickly, and the purple-haired girl hurried after her, calling out, "Dujia, wait for me." Looking at the flickering streetlights, she muttered, "Dang it, why doesn't anyone fix these broken lights? It's creepy." Suddenly, a pair of unfamiliar men's legs appeared behind them. The assistant pointed ahead. "The car is just up there, Dujia. I'll wait for you inside." Jean calmement replied, "Mem." The figure drew closer. As soon as the purple-haired girl left, the man rushed towards her. The hurried footsteps startled Jean. Turning around, a large hand reached out and pinned her against the wall. It happened so fast she had no time to react. It was Zwida. He braced himself against the wall with both hands, trapping Jean in an awkward position. She was neither panicked nor afraid, but thought calmly. It was him. He smiled, hesitantly beginning, "Teacher Jean." Out of breath from running, Zwida Da could only see the sharp lines of her face at such close proximity. He hinted meaningfully, "Can we talk for a bit?" Under the starry sky, the atmosphere seemed to solidify between Do-jin and Zwuda. Just then, Do-jin's assistant returned, witnessing a scene she shouldn't have. She immediately covered her mouth, stifling a scream. Seeing someone else there, Zwuda instinctively stepped back. Do-jin coughed a few times, pretending nothing was amiss, while her assistant remained frozen in place. "You too. This is," she worried, thinking, "I'm done for. I've seen something I shouldn't have." Suddenly, Do-jin said, "Get in the car." The assistant seemed reluctant, but Do-jin insisted, "Hurry up." She had no choice but to agree. "All right." Then she got in the passenger seat. To be safe, Do-jin personally closed the car door. Then she walked to the rear door, turned to Zwuda, and said, "Don't just stand there, get in. Let's talk." As a luxury car enthusiast, Zwuda recognized the brand at a glance. A Lincoln. "This woman is even more flamboyant than I am." He wanted to refuse, "No, it's okay." But before he could finish, Do-jin interrupted him, "Get in. I don't want to be trending tomorrow." Hearing this, Zwuda immediately pictured newspaper headlines with photos of him and Do-jin, along with trending topics like Do-jin's late-night rendezvous with a mysterious man and Do-jin's secret dealings with a trainee. He couldn't help but shiver and agreed, "Fine." As soon as Zwuda got in, the car started and sped off. Inside, looking at the beautiful yet cold woman across from him, Zwuda felt awkward. Scratching his head, he stammered, "I just wanted to ask, why did you eliminate me?" Do-jin crossed her arms and coldly retorted, "Didn't I make it clear enough on stage? Don't you think it's a bit much to keep asking?" She glanced at him and continued, "You're not suited to be an idol." Not only that, but she also countered, or to put it another way, you don't even like being an idol. If you don't like it, why did you come to this audition? At the same time, she had some unspoken thoughts. Just one look, and I can tell he comes from a well-off family. Someone like him doesn't need to mess around in the murky waters of the entertainment industry. Zwuda knew she was suspicious of him, but he couldn't reveal the truth yet. I have my reasons. I really need this opportunity." But Do-jin wasn't going to let him off easily. "Do you think everyone here today doesn't want this opportunity? If you're asking me to let you into the preliminary round, don't bother." "I won't agree," Zwuda persistently pleaded. "That's not what I'm trying to say. I just want to ask, can you give me another chance?" Zwuda's pitiful and yearning expression moved Do-jin. That familiar feeling reminded her of someone. Too similar, this expression, this face, it's too similar. Those clear eyes shouldn't be thrown into the muddy waters of the entertainment industry. He tried to lean closer, expressing his desire, "I don't necessarily have to be an idol. I can." Perhaps it was Zwuda's sudden movement, but Do-jin quickly raised her hand and pushed him away before he could finish. "I can give you a chance, but whether you can do it depends on you." Then she asked, "Have you been to the Fountain Square on Jinling Road?" Zwuda nodded, Hearing this, Do-jin held up her phone screen, showing the time as 9:34 p.m. "Good. For the next 15 days, every morning at 8 a.m., you need to be in front of the Fountain Square for 8 hours. Before Zwuda could ask why, she changed the subject and asked, "Can you play the guitar?" Zwuda scratched the back of his head with his paint-stained, rough hand, a little embarrassed, and looked away as he answered, "Yes." Do-jin continued, "I don't care about your background, but for those 8 hours, you're a street performer. Besides performing, I also want you to observe the people passing by. 3 people each day. Memorize their features, their clothing, guess their backgrounds and stories, and then tell them to me." After hearing her finish, Zwuda's eyebrows furrowed. Do-jin quickly noticed his discomfort and paused. But Zwuda interrupted her, agreeing, "I'll do it." Although he knew Do-jin was deliberately making things difficult for him, from another perspective, this was clearly an opportunity. Right now, this was his only chance. Even if it was just a casual joke on her part, he had to seize it because it was his only chance. He thought for a moment and asked, "Can I have your contact information? How can you be sure I'll be there on time, every day?" Do-jin replied casually, "No need. I'll come find you in 15 days. With the matter settled, Do-jin stopped giving Zwuda a hard time. "By the way, where do you live? I can give you a ride if it's on my way." Zwuda froze for a moment, took out his phone, tapped on it, and stammered, "Thank you, I live just nearby. Actually, I'm not quite sure where I live." Moments later, the car arrived. Do-jin's driver said apologetically, "It's difficult to turn around up ahead, so I'll stop here." Zwuda smiled casually and replied, "It's all right. It's not far to walk." He opened the car door, got out, and turned back to say goodbye to Do-jin. Thank you, teacher Do. See you next time. Dujin Wavid goodbye. Looking at the old and shabby apartment building, completely different from what she had imagined, Dujin couldn't help but think. He lives here. Could he really have some unspoken difficulties? A few minutes later, Zwida stood in front of an apartment door, repeatedly jiggling the doorknob, producing a clicking sound. His phone rang, but he ignored it, gritting his teeth and muttering to himself. That old man, Shu Chung, I asked him to find a decent place, and he finds this dump. After struggling for a while, Zwida finally inserted the thin key into the lock, and with a click, the door opened. After pushing the door open and entering the apartment, he didn't bother to answer the phone. Hello. On the other end of the phone, Zhu Yu yelled furiously, "Are you kidding me? You clearly have a house, but you insist on wandering around outside, and now your bank cards are frozen. Do you want to sleep on the streets?" So it felt like his ears were about to be deafened. He casually moved the phone away, waving it back and forth, completely ignoring Zhu Yu's endless scolding. It was just a few arguments with mom and dad. Just apologize. Besides, their arrangements are for your own good. Look at me. I didn't ask you to chase after celebrities, did I? Why did you have to argue with them for me? Zwida rummaged through the kitchen cabinets while coldly retorting to his nagging sister. Zhu Yu, we are fundamentally different people. Don't you find it boring to have your life planned out for you? He had a point, and Zhu Yu was momentarily speechless. Zwida smirked and continued, "That's why I'm going to do something big, to make them see me in a new light." The next morning, the sound of a guitar drifted through the fountain square, attracting many passers-by. A little girl, holding her mother's hand, pointed ahead, "Mommy, look, there's a big brother playing the guitar." The melodious music echoed through the square. As agreed with Dujin, Zwida stood in front of the fountain with his guitar, playing a beautiful melody. The little girl listened for a while, then took some money from her mother and skipped over to Zwida, placing the money in his guitar case. She cheered in a childish voice, "Go, big brother." Zwida hadn't expected this at all. So this was what being a street performer was like. He didn't know whether to be happy or sad, and was about to explain, "Little girl, I'm actually not." But he immediately dismissed the thought. Never mind. Because of the little girl's actions, other passers-by also started putting money into his guitar case. Besides, Zwida had to concentrate on completing his task, singing as Dujin had instructed, and taking the opportunity to observe the crowd. So he continued to play and sing enthusiastically, bringing joy to those around him. Although Dujin had said she would come to find him in 15 days, she was, in fact, already secretly observing him from a hidden spot. She had thought that Zwida would give up halfway because he couldn't stand the stares of strangers. But seeing how relaxed and engrossed Zwida was, Dujin saw him in a different light. He seemed much stronger than she had imagined. Just then, there was a knock at the door. Knock, knock, knock. Dujin took a small sip of her wine and said, "Come in." After receiving permission, the assistant pushed the door open, holding a stack of documents. "Director Du, this is the script you requested last time. Guiyu is the male lead." She handed the documents to Dujin and added, "Also, Xiao Yuming asked me to ask you if he could get the script this time." Dujin frowned as she flipped through the documents, her tone impatient. His acting is so bad. No matter which production team he's in, the director always calls me to ask if they can replace him. Growing angrier, her words became sharper. Did he use his brain when he asked me for the script? Does he even deserve the male lead role? The assistant was so frightened by her attitude that she broke out in a cold sweat, replying awkwardly, "You understood. Director Du, I'll pass on the message right away." She quickly retreated, hearing the sound of the door closing. Dujin rubbed her throbbing temples and sighed helplessly. She looked towards the fountain again, thinking, he's probably about to finish up and go home. Sure enough, Zwida played and sang until the sun began to set. After the last song, he happily put down his guitar. Looking at the bills and coins piled up in his guitar case, Zwida couldn't believe it. Wow, I didn't expect to make so much money on my first day as a street performer. As darkness gradually fell, he carefully collected the money, making room to put his guitar away. Suddenly he looked up. That feeling came again, but he saw nothing, only an empty, gloomy space. Even so, Zwida was suspicious. Why did I suddenly feel like someone was watching me? That night, in Zwida's small apartment, he chewed on his pen, staring thoughtfully at a blank piece of paper. The question echoing in his mind was, write about the person who left the deepest impression on you. Inexplicably, he could only think of one person, Dujin. Her beautiful yet cold demeanor made him blush. As if realizing this anomaly, he quickly shook his head, trying to dispel the image. No, now is not the time to think about her. Zwada picked up his pen, determined. I must persevere and complete this task within these 2 weeks. Time flew by. Unconsciously, half a month had passed, meaning the agreement between Doo-jin and Zwada had ended. Choosing to ride in the familiar luxury car once again, Doo-jin slowly rolled down the window. By the fountain in the center of the large square, Zwada played his guitar and sang as usual, only now his audience was entirely female. Undoubtedly, besides his outstanding talent, his charming appearance was also a major reason. Doo-jin's assistant sat beside her, witnessing the girls being captivated by Zwada, unaware of the private agreement between Doo-jin and him. She noticed her boss staring at Zwada and couldn't help but ask curiously, "Miss Do, do you also like that recent viral short video?" Doo-jin turned her head in surprise and asked which video. The assistant replied excitedly with a smile, "The one with the male student in the middle of the square." She then presented the evidence to Doo-jin. Look, on the phone screen, comments kept flooding in below the video of Zwada's performance. "Oh my god, so charming. This wild little brother is so gentle. Love it, love it. Yes, yes, I'm hooked. Oh my god, so charming. I finally caught him today. Want to add him in my group." The Fountain Square video. Why haven't I seen him when I pass by every day? I've decided. I thought he was a new idol debuting. Does anyone know who this little brother is? Is he a top star? He's so handsome. Oh my god, I'm so looking forward to this little brother's debut. The assistant happily rubbed her chin and said, "The first time I saw this video, I thought he was a new artist signed by an entertainment company." Doo-jin smiled and asked, "What do you think of him?" The assistant frankly evaluated. He's handsome, plays well, and is quite talented. And this video has already brought him a lot of traffic. With a little more training, he'll definitely be a hit. Doo-jin hummed softly, as if agreeing with her. After a while, the music ended. At this time, Zwada had also completed the last day of his contract and finally breathed a sigh of relief. "I'm so tired. I finally made it through today." Seeing him put away his guitar, the girls started to shyly approach him. "Hello there. Can I add you on WeChat?" Zwada looked up and refused without hesitation. "I'm really sorry. I can't." The brown-haired girl was a little disappointed, but still unwilling to give up. Perhaps he was already used to it, as Zwada wasn't impatient, but gently repeated, "I'm really sorry. I really can't." Seeing his firm attitude, the girl could only puff out her cheeks and put her hands on her hips, looking displeased. Just as he thought everything was resolved and he could escape the girl's pursuit, another person walked over. The sound of high heels clicking against the ground grew closer. Zwada stopped in annoyance. Who was it this time? Honestly. He looked up and said impatiently, "I'm really sorry. I already said." Before he could finish, Zwada's eyes widened in shock. The person who came was Doo-jin. She had promised to come find him after the task was completed. She stood with her arms crossed, her expression impassive, and asked, "What did you say in the office?" Doo-jin held the stack of documents Zwada had given her. Zwada hesitated and said, "I haven't started drawing anything today." Doo-jin pulled out a photo and calmly said, "It's okay. Let's talk about this first." So Zwada began to recount his encounter with the woman. "I met that middle-aged woman on the evening of the 3rd day. I was singing for a heartbroken girl when a woman carrying a bag of vegetables passed by. A rare seriousness flashed in your beautiful eyes. You suddenly scrutinized the woman's clothing and appearance. She was wearing a white t-shirt and loose black pants, probably between 45 and 50 years old. Judging by her accent, she wasn't a local, and from her clothes, her family wasn't well off. She was about 1.59 meters tall, slightly overweight, and was on the phone. She glanced at the heartbroken young girl. Zwada recalled. As she passed by, she looked at the girl with a hint of envy in her eyes. Afterward, she started arguing fiercely with someone on the phone. The pressures of life hadn't extinguished her pursuit of beauty. Despite her financial situation, she still made an effort to appear presentable. Doo-jin flipped to the next photo and praised. "Good, let's continue." After explaining his encounter with the next person, Zwada said, "That's about it." He suddenly glanced at Doo-jin's coffee cup. He looked at his own cup, swallowed, and thought, "I should have boiled some water and let it cool if I knew I was going to talk for so long." He was parched after talking so much. Just then, a knock came from the door. She said, "Come in." Assistant Shu AI entered with documents, smiling. "Director Do, the contract is ready." Doo-jin took the documents and handed them to Zwada. "Look over the contract. If there are no problems, sign it." Zwada was surprised at first. Then he picked up the contract and read it carefully. After finishing, he was overjoyed, a clear expression of happiness on his face. Holding the contract, Zwada's smile was dazzling, captivating. Dujin couldn't help but chuckle. Young people are so innocent, so easily pleased by a little recognition. She recalled the previous young man, practically like a puppy being praised. Zwada, still looking at the contract, suddenly sneezed, feeling as if someone was talking about him behind his back. After a moment, Dujin said, "I'll take you on, but under 2 conditions." Zwada straightened up. "Please tell me." Dujin began to explain her 2 conditions. "I don't manage any traffic stars. If you're my artist, you have to act. Learn to be a real actor." Zwada thought, so that's why she asked me to observe people and write stories. She intended for me to be an actor from the beginning. After signing, he returned the contract. "Okay, I'll learn." Dujin added, "Also, no dating for 3 years as an artist. If there are no other questions, you can go. I'll contact you if anything comes up." As Zwada was about to leave, she added, "Your assistant will arrive by the day after tomorrow at the latest. The company will provide you with an apartment and a car. Wait for confirmation on your first script." He immediately agreed. "Okay, I understand." Shu AI smiled and escorted him out. "Mr. Zwa, this way, please. The car is already arranged for you." Zwada stepped out and gently closed the door. After he left, Dujin leaned back in her chair, closed her eyes, and sighed. She rubbed her forehead, thinking, "I'm going to work myself to death at this rate. I need to think about taking a vacation." The clock on the wall ticked. After a while, Dujin drowsily opened her eyes and picked up her phone. A news alert popped up on the screen. Movie Emperor phone returns. She stared at the news, thinking, so his recovery is over. Reporters swarmed him with questions. Movie Emperor phone, are you planning to take on new roles now after 3 years of injury? Feng Zijiao nodded. Yes, I've kept everyone waiting. Thank you for your continued support and love. Another female reporter asked, is the new project director Xian Zichi's new film? Dujin, seeing this thought, his comeback is quite the spectacle. Feng Zijiao didn't answer directly, just smiled and said, stay tuned. Dujin frowned at the photo of him and clicked her tongue. Trouble's back. Around 4 in the morning, Zwada's phone suddenly rang. He frowned, picking up with some annoyance. Hello. The voice on the other end asked, there's a role for a second male lead in a new drama. Interested. He sat up straight, surprised. I just signed a contract yesterday, and I already have work today. Dujin asked him seriously, playing a returning eagle. The character image suits you well. Want to do it? His eyes lit up. Yes, I do. Because time was tight, Dujin instructed, you have half a day to prepare. The flight is at 3 p.m. He agreed without hesitation. No problem. Early the next morning, Zwada and Dujin boarded the plane together. On the plane, she was trying to sleep, but was kept awake by the roaring engines. This plane is too loud. I can't sleep at all. She clicked her tongue impatiently. Zwada, who was reading beside her, jumped, thinking he had disturbed her. He asked awkwardly, am I bothering you? No. Could you give me a glass of water? Hearing this, Zwada immediately closed his book. Of course. He suddenly stood up and turned to face her. She looked up surprised. Weren't you getting water? Why are you suddenly standing in front of me? Zwada exhaled softly and said in a low voice. Director Dujin asked impatiently. Suddenly, a cold bottle touched her cheek, instantly waking her up. He offered her a brand new bottle of water with a gentle smile, saying, your water. She froze for a few seconds, glancing at the bag beside her, thinking, I had water in my bag all along. Seeing her pale complexion, Zwada asked with concern, Teacher Du, are you all right? You look a little pale. She took a sip of water, closed her eyes, and replied, I'm fine. The plane is about to land. Go over the script one more time. While he wasn't looking, Dujin squeezed the water bottle in her hand until it was deformed. As soon as the plane landed, Zwada and Dujin quickly disembarked. Waiting for them was a handsome man, Xian Zichi, standing next to a luxury car. He was the representative of the film's major investors. He waved enthusiastically at them. Long time no see. He said excitedly, the last time I saw you was. But she coldly interrupted, skipped the pleasantries. Let's go straight to the set. Hearing this, he didn't say anything more, just turned around and opened the car door for them. All right, let's go. Xian Zichi made a gentlemanly gesture. Ladies first. The black car drove smoothly along the tree-lined road, as if gliding through a gentle spring breeze. Dujin sat quietly in the car, gazing at the scenery outside the window. Suddenly, Zwada's sleeping face was reflected in the car window. Seeing this, Jean snuck a glance at him. Completely captivated, she thought. Looking closely, his eyebrows are thicker than others, and his eye sockets are deeper. Seeing his tired and listless appearance, she thought, did he not sleep well last night? In fact, Jean was much the same as Zwoda, also looking a bit sleepy, and she started to yawn. After yawning a few times, she realized she was also sleepy. Suddenly, she felt particularly tired, closed her eyes, and quickly fell into a deep sleep. Night deepened, and the mysterious dark blue sky gradually became dotted with stars. The car finally arrived at its destination. Jean slowly opened her eyes, her head still a little fuzzy, not fully awake. She mumbled, when did I fall asleep? As the car stopped, suddenly realizing something was amiss, she abruptly opened her eyes wide. She had been leaning on Zwoda's shoulder the whole way, which made her panic. Did I sleep on his shoulder the entire time? To alleviate the awkwardness, she coughed a few times and asked with a straight face, when did you wake up? Why didn't you wake me? Zwoda had to calmly scroll through his phone and replied, I woke up a while ago. Director XIN said you don't usually sleep well in the car, so you must be very tired this time. He told me not to wake you and let you sleep a little longer. Jean didn't ask any more questions and quickly found an excuse to get out of the car. Let's get out. Don't make them wait too long. She slowly got out of the car, seemingly hesitant to say something. Her cheeks flushed slightly as she softly said, thank you. Hearing these words, Zwoda was stunned with surprise. He sat in the car, gazing at her receding figure for a long time. After a while, he softly murmured, Teacher, isn't as cold as I thought. Jean stood quietly in the open space, looking up at the twinkling stars in the night sky, like a dreamy painting. Under the silver moonlight, the contours of her profile were distinct, delicate, and captivating. At this moment, Zwoda's gentle voice broke the silence of the night. Jean turned around and saw him standing behind her, his handsome face adjusting his tie, a faint smile playing on his lips as he called her name. Teacher, she glanced at him, a hint of appraisal in her eyes, a smile playing on her lips. That stage costume isn't bad. This casual comment made Zwoda's heart race, and his cheeks flushed slightly as he fantasized about Jean praising him. But her simple not bad brought him back to reality. Feeling a little disappointed, Zwoda couldn't help but blurt out, just the costume. Jean remained calm. What else? She quickly changed the subject, asking him, how did the photo shoot feel? Zwoda immediately perked up, excitedly saying, super good. Director XIN even praised me for being handsome and energetic. At this point, he wrinkled his nose and sighed, it's just a little damp here. I'm afraid I'll get rheumatism if I stay here too long. Hearing this, she smiled helplessly and replied coldly, then you better perform well and finish filming quickly. With that, Jean turned and left, leaving Zwoda to simply reply, okay. He stood there quietly, watching Jin's figure gradually disappear, constantly pondering, am I overthinking things? Ever since we first met, she always seems to pay special attention to my face. But then Zwoda frowned again, thinking, could she have signed me because she likes my face? Not long after Jean returned home, her phone began ringing incessantly. Zijiao's name flashed across the screen. Still immersed in her bath, she was completely unaware of the incoming calls. After a while, 3 missed calls from Feng Ingdi appeared on the screen. Jean finally emerged from the bathroom, wrapped in a towel, water droplets clinging to her skin. Her smooth, long hair cascaded down her back as she casually dried it. Suddenly, she noticed a brand new bottle of perfume on the table. Her attention captivated. She wondered where it had come from. Looking at it, she recalled her conversation with Zwoda about switching rooms. Hey, let's switch rooms. I don't like using the one with the big bathtub. Zwoda had immediately agreed. No problem. Remembering this, she suddenly realized, oh right, he must have left it behind when we switched rooms. Meanwhile, in Zwoda's room, clothes were scattered everywhere. Some were neatly folded in boxes, while others looked as if they had been rummaged through. He frowned, pulling off his shirt. It's so humid in here, he complained. Everything feels sticky and uncomfortable. Just as Zwoda was about to take off his pants, a knock sounded at the door. Annoyed, he grabbed the shirt he had just taken off, muttering, who's knocking at this hour? Then he quickly called out, coming, just a minute. So would have put his shirt back on and opened the door, only to find Jean standing there. Because he hadn't buttoned his shirt, his six-pack abs were on full display, leaving Du-jin momentarily speechless and stunned. Zwuda was also surprised, wondering what she was doing there so late. Feigning indifference, Du-jin held up the perfume bottle. Yours, she asked, but no matter how hard she tried to remain composed, her gaze kept drifting back to his sculpted abs, and she unconsciously swallowed. The more she looked at his well-defined, slightly sweaty physique, the redder her face became, like a ripe tomato. Just then, Zwuda's voice broke her trance. It is, thank you, Teacher Du, he thought to himself, coming all this way just to return a bottle of perfume. Du-jin quickly regained her usual composure. It's nothing, she said. 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, first floor, meeting. The director wants to talk. Don't be late. His eyes lit up at her words, and he nodded obediently. But then she added with a smile, also, starting tomorrow, you'll be eating separately. The crew will prepare a special low-fat meal plan for you. You need to control your diet during filming. Don't gain weight, and don't lose your definition. Any questions? Zwuda replied confidently, no problem. Du-jin concluded the conversation briskly. Then I'll be going. Watching her leave, Zwuda waved. Good night. Teacher Du-jin turned back and waved as well. Good night. The next morning, the director's voice could already be heard on set. Cut. No, Zwuda, are you blind? Focus. By this time, Du-jin and her assistant had arrived, still exuding their elegant star aura. Seeing her, Junshi rushed over as if grabbing a lifeline, pleading, Du-zone, you're finally here. Please take a look. I really can't take it anymore. Du-jin took off her sunglasses and asked, what's wrong? Zi-chi quickly answered, the scene we're shooting today is actually very simple. The second male lead, Zhang Yunsheng, sees the male and female leads being intimate, gets angry, trashes the room, and then just recites a few lines from the script. She played the video for Du-jin, complaining, look how badly he's acting. It's truly unbearable. In the video, Zwuda's expression was stiff, his acting incredibly fake, enough to drive anyone crazy. Ugh, this damn couple. She sighed helplessly. Oh my god, I made him redo it 6 or 7 times. Look at the next take. I'm going insane. Du-jin frowned. I understand. She hesitated, thinking to herself, shouldn't he be angry? But then Du-jin turned and instructed, prepare my lunch. I'll go help him find the feeling. Xi and Zi-chi immediately agreed. Du-jin walked straight to where Zwuda was sitting. Du-jin placed a sandwich on the table. Zwuda was staring intently at the script. She picked up a water bottle, looked down at him, and said, lunch. He refused somewhat awkwardly. No, thank you. I'm not very hungry. Du-jin looked at him, thinking, young people are like this. They get easily discouraged when they can't do something well. The image of Zwuda biting the script in frustration flashed through her mind. The next second, they were both sitting in the car. Zwuda wasn't sure what was happening, but he felt a little panicked. No way. She's really making me drive. Where are we even going? The awkward silence was broken by Du-jin. Pull over at the next intersection. He immediately replied, okay. When they arrived, she got out of the car, but before leaving, Du-jin turned back to Zwuda and said, wait here. He stood there, arms crossed, watching her walk away, wondering where she was going. Then Zwuda looked up at the sign of the shop Du-jin was entering. Just write more? He read aloud, thinking it was a strange name for a pharmacy. A few minutes later, Du-jin returned to the car. As she sat down, she said, let's go home. Then, she suddenly handed a plastic bag to Zwuda. Here, for you, Zwuda. Zwuda quickly took the bag, opened it, and pulled out a small box, reading the label in a low voice. Golden throat lozenges. And Zwuda took out another item from the bag. His eyes widened when he saw the name. Joint pain relief patches. Everything was health-related. Zwuda turned to her with a puzzled look. She had already taken out 2 stomach pills. He was just about to ask her what these things were for, when she quickly interrupted him. Wasn't your throat uncomfortable after that scene this morning? As an actor, you have to take care of yourself. Don't end up with occupational hazards like me. As she spoke, she swallowed the 2 pills, water spilling from the corner of her mouth. Zwuda listened intently to her caring words, staring blankly at Du-jin's gentle face, completely lost in thought. He only softly replied, okay, I understand. After that, the 2 drove back in silence. Suddenly, a small rock appeared on the road. Zwuda drove over it without noticing. Although the impact wasn't strong, the car bounced with a bang, as if it were about to fly. The sudden jolt made her slightly dizzy. Du-jin rubbed her forehead and groaned in pain. Seeing this, he felt guilty and quickly apologized. Just as he finished speaking, Zwuda ran over another rock, and the car shook even more violently. The car swayed like a rattle drum. The culprit's face turned white with embarrassment. Du-jin sat beside him, clutching her forehead, pajig in pain. Then she softly scolded, "Are you doing this on purpose?" Hearing this, Zwada hurriedly defended himself. I really didn't, let me explain. He tried to appear calm, randomly making up an excuse. "I just wanted to drive a little faster so we could get back to look at the script sooner. Isn't there another scene this afternoon?" He appeared nonchalant, but in his heart, he really wanted to ask something else. Doo-jin, having recovered, told Zwada, "Your scene for today are finished. There are no scenes for you this afternoon." Hearing this, he suddenly changed the subject, his voice lowering. "Teacher Do, was my acting really that bad?" In contrast to his dejected tone, she casually dropped a line, "Yes." Zwada was instantly mortified. He whined like a child. "Teacher Do, can't you encourage me a little?" Doo-jin frowned and asked, "You want me to encourage you?" Zwada nodded enthusiastically. They chatted like this until the car stopped. Doo-jin calmly got out of the car and waved in response to his earlier request. "Then work hard on your acting." With that, she turned and left. Zwada watched her back as she walked away. He looked thoughtfully at the box of lozenges Doo-jin had just given him. He opened the box and popped one into his mouth. Meanwhile, she had already entered her apartment building, frowning as she thought about Zwada. "He even dared to act cute with me. If I had known he was this troublesome." Lost in thought, Doo-jin stopped at her apartment door and calmly took out her key, inserting it into the lock. But just as she pulled her hand back, the key broke, a piece still stuck in the lock. Doo-jin stared at the unfortunate scene, speechless, cursing inwardly. She pulled another box of lozenges from her pocket. Zwada frowned, putting a lozenge in his mouth. First, the assistant forgot the first aid kit. Then the newcomer's acting was so bad, and now the lock was broken. Why had she been so unlucky since last night? These trivial matters reminded her of the people who had pestered her throughout the day. That silly, clingy younger brother, the unreliable Maki, and that Zwada, who had nothing but a good-looking face. The more she thought about it, the angrier she became. Doo-jin stuffed a handful of lozenges into her mouth to vent her frustration. Just then, someone behind her looked at her with confusion. On instinct, Doo-jin turned around, stunned. It was Zwada. As soon as he saw her turn around, he immediately spoke. "Teacher Do." She was struggling to swallow the lozenges in her mouth. Zwada, as if understanding something, asked, "Is the lock broken?" Doo-jin softly replied, "Mem." He couldn't help but smile, looking at her and saying, "It seems I came at just the right time. I happen to know how to pick locks." Hearing this, Doo-jin crossed her arms and coldly asked, "Are you sure?" Zwada confidently replied, "You don't believe me." As soon as he finished speaking, he approached Doo-jin, his voice clear and cheerful. "If I can open the lock, does this count as a good performance? Teacher Do." Zwada leaned in close to Doo-jin and whispered, "Teacher Do." Doo-jin immediately leaned back, putting some distance between them. Seeing this, Zwada covered his mouth and chuckled softly. He extended his hand towards Doo-jin and politely asked, "Do you have any hairpins?" Doo-jin maintained her composure and replied, "Yes." She generously handed him a few hairpins. "Here you go." Zwada took the hairpins. "These should be enough." Doo-jin watched as Zwada fiddled with the lock using the hairpins, thinking to herself, "So this kid knows how to pick locks." With a click, Zwada stopped, pushed the door open, and looked back at Doo-jin with a triumphant grin. "Done." Doo-jin calmly walked past him, but not without glancing back at Zwada. "Aren't you coming in?" Zwada pointed at himself with a bewildered expression, then laughed. "Then I'm coming in." After they entered the room, Doo-jin casually tossed her bag aside and asked, "Zwada, how did you feel about your first day on set?" Zwada sat down on a nearby chair. "To be honest, I think I did a pretty terrible job." Doo-jin est unsuffisant. "Zwada, if you had a different agent, you probably would have become one of those pretty boy idols who rely on their looks by now." She pushed a bottle of water towards him. "But you just happened to end up with me." Doo-jin raised an eyebrow, her tone becoming serious. "I'm not the kind of agent who just promotes pretty faces." Zwada took the water, his voice firm. "I know, Teacher Do, but I definitely don't regret it. I really want to learn how to act. Can you teach me?" She looked at him with some surprise. "You want me to teach you?" Doo-jin narrowed her eyes. "Why?" Zwada mustered his courage and said loudly, "I heard Teacher Do is a best actress. If a best actress teaches US, can we become best actors too?" She squinted slightly. "Best actor." She looked him up and down, her gaze sweeping across his face. "That's not something just anyone can achieve. You know what? Dujin turned around and began to explain. Before that, you have to accumulate enough skills, gain understanding, and learn how to build a character. Zuida looked confused. Build. Imagine myself as the character. Dujin tilted her head towards him. Yes, but not entirely. The overall atmosphere and tone of the film determined the character's personality, and the personality determines the actions. But the character in the play only shows a part of their personality. She walked over and pulled open the curtains. You can't just grasp one aspect of the character. Dujin abruptly pulled open the curtains, revealing the scenery outside. You have to learn to imagine, create, and perfect. So, although it's similar to building, it's not quite the same. She turned and looked directly at him. Do you understand? Zuida stared blankly at Dujin for a few seconds, completely stunned. He was startled when he suddenly saw her expression change drastically. Dujin frowned, her eyes filled with resentment and frustration. Zuida looked at her in shock, speechless. Dujin suddenly threw the script to the ground, scattering the pages everywhere. She shouted angrily, Why? Zuida panicked and raised his hands to try and calm her down. Teacher Du, what's wrong? Please calm down. Dujin took a deep breath. She quickly returned to her normal self and asked him, Do you understand now? Zuida was still stunned. That's what I practiced dozens of times this morning, and she just performed it for me. He clenched his fists, his face full of determination. Teacher Du, I understand. Dujin held a few pages of the script in her hand, her tone stern. If you can't even grasp the basics of acting, you won't have much of a future, and I'll just hand you over to a regular agent. The clock pointed to 9:10 p.m. She closed her eyes and sighed. It's getting late. You should go back. Zuida immediately agreed. Okay. Dujin saw him to the door. Zuida looked at her gratefully. Thank you so much for today. Zuida smiled softly and winked at her. Teacher Dujin ignored him and slammed the door shut. Zuida's cry could be heard from outside. Ouch. Dujin turned and went back inside. She rummaged through her bag, puzzled. Why can't I find it in my bag? Dujin searched every corner of her home, but still couldn't find what she was looking for. She muttered to herself, Strange, where did my medicine go? Just as she was thinking, there was a knock at the door, and Zuida's voice called out. Teacher Zuida waved with a smile. Hi, Dujin Fournette. What is it now? She sighed inwardly. This kid is really a handful. So Zuida held out a bottle of pills and explained, I just realized when I got out of the car that you left this in the car. Hearing this, her expression softened a bit. It's a good thing you didn't throw it away. Dujin reached out to take the medicine bottle back. Give it to me. But Zuida was quicker, raising the bottle high with a smug look. Come on, take it. Zuida looked at her and stated his condition. Could teacher Du teach me how to act more often in the future? I think I can learn a lot from you. Dujin frowned in displeasure and retorted, If I don't agree, you won't give it back. Zuida quickly stammered, I wouldn't dare. Dujin snatched the medicine bottle from Zuida's hand and coldly said, Then the door quickly closed, leaving Zuida dumbfounded. What did it mean? Did she agree or not? Honestly, suddenly, Shu AI poked her head out from behind him and asked curiously, Hey, I just heard a lot of commotion in Director Du's room. You weren't beaten up, were you? Zuida's eyes widened in shock. Director Du has a secret move for hitting artists. Shu AI quickly waved her hands in explanation. No, don't misunderstand. She's usually very cold, and everyone doesn't know her very well. I haven't been her assistant for long, so I don't know much either. Zuida immediately turned and asked Shu AI seriously, So what kind of person is Director Du? Does she have any likes or dislikes? Shu AI stroked her chin thoughtfully. I haven't heard about any likes, but I do know a few things she dislikes. Her previous assistant told me that she hates busybodies, people who talk too much, and those who are brown-nosers and clingy. The first 2 points hit Zuida like arrows. Shu AI continued. She also hates incompetent people. The last sentence was a fatal blow. Zuida inwardly cried out, Oh no, I seem to be all of those things. The next morning at the school, Dujin walked ahead wearing a mask, looking down at her phone. Behind her, Shu AI watched the surrounding students and sighed helplessly. Why isn't anyone from the crew maintaining order? With so many students crowding around, I feel like a monkey in a zoo. Dujin's phone displayed her chat history with Zuida. There were a few lines. Teacher Du, we have a scene together this afternoon. I'm a little nervous. He had also sent 2 pitiful emojis. Dujin glanced at it, thinking expressionlessly. He talks too much. Suddenly, Xi and Zichi shouted loudly from afar with a megaphone. Students, it's class time. Go back to your classrooms. Where are your teachers? Hearing this, the students quickly dispersed and returned to their classrooms. Seeing the crowd disperse, Shu AI quickly stood in front of Dujin. At this moment, a student wearing glasses suddenly walked over, holding up his phone and saying, "Beautiful, you're really pretty. Can I take a picture with you?" Shu AI stood in front of Dujin and said awkwardly, "Excuse me, young man, please move aside." She spoke directly to the student. The student raised an eyebrow. "Let me take a picture first, then I'll let you pass." He reached out towards Dujin. "Take off your mask and let us see your face." Dujin was startled and wanted to step back, but there was a wall behind her. Panic rose in her heart. Oh no, there's nowhere to retreat. Dujin tightly closed her eyes and turned her face to the side. Suddenly, the student's hand stopped, and he yelled, "Ouch." Dujin opened her eyes and saw the student who had just yelled was now being grabbed by the collar from behind by Zwuda, who shouted, "Who grabbed my clothes?" Zwuda frowned and said, "Kid, isn't it a little rude to put your hands on a girl?" He looked at the chubby guy, struggling with displeasure. "Let go of me. Just because you're a celebrity doesn't mean you can hit people. I'm going to tell the teacher." Zwuda glanced at the chubby student, his threatening tone scaring the other party. "Fine, I'll let you go, but you'd better hurry back to class, you hear?" The chubby student ran away screaming, "Mommy, there's a bad guy here." Dujin watched him leave with a hint of disdain in her eyes. As soon as the person left, Zwuda's expression immediately changed. He turned to Dujin with an innocent look, catching her off guard. "Teacher Du, are you all right?" Dujin tilted her head slightly, avoiding his gaze. Her cheeks flushed. "Go and prepare for your scene." Zwuda winked playfully at her. "Yes, ma'am." In the next scene, Zwuda stood in front of the girl and said awkwardly like a shy teenager, "Classmate Nan Yuan, get into character, I like you." From behind the camera, the director yelled, "Cut!" Xi and Zichi frowned, holding the megaphone. "Zwuda, why is your hair such a mess? Go fix it." A few minutes later, during a break, Xi and Zichi suggested to Dujin, who was focused on her phone, Jin, you haven't filmed a youth film before, have you? Want to try collaborating?" She rolled her eyes and emphasized her age. "I'm already 28. Xi and Zichi muttered to himself, "Is there something wrong with this person's brain?" He grabbed Dujin's shoulder and said with a serious expression, "I won't allow you to say that. In my eyes, you'll always be 18. He then turned his gaze to Zwuda, commenting that the kid's face was simply impeccable, and if his acting could be honed a bit more, he'd be even better. The two of them intently scrutinized Zwuda's handsome features as the makeup artist touched up his makeup. Xi and Zichi's expression suddenly turned serious. "In the 3 years I've been your manager, I've never seen you bring a new director into the group, let alone personally bring them into a project. Aren't you afraid the media will write nonsense about you?" He leaned closer, his tone laced with suspicion and a hint of amusement. "Or is it that this time you really..." Before he could finish, a piece of bread was stuffed into his mouth. MMPH. Dujin angrily shoved the bread into his mouth. "Shut up, you're too nosy." She stormed off, leaving Xi and Zichi to sigh contentedly. "Oh, chocolate flavor." Dujin walked silently down the hallway. She stopped at the dressing room door, and just as she was about to reach for the handle, she suddenly heard laughter from inside. "Ha!" Inside, the girl who had just acted opposite Zwuda was full of curiosity, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. "What's your relationship with Dujin? I've never seen her bring anyone into the group before." Zwuda, who had been looking at his phone, looked up at her with a puzzled expression. "Really?" Wu Jingwan immediately chimed in, her face full of excitement, like she was waiting for some gossip. "Really? My senior sister is at Shengxing Entertainment, and even they couldn't sign Dujin. You're a newcomer, so you probably don't understand." Dujin, eavesdropping outside the door, cursed inwardly. "You little kid, what nonsense are you talking about? You talk too much." Dujin suddenly pushed the door open and cleared her throat, startling the two inside. Wu Jingwan stammered nervously when she saw her enter. Dujin?" Dujin walked straight up to Zwuda and asked, "Are you ready?" He obediently replied, "Yes, I'm ready." Dujin raised her voice slightly. "Then come on." Zwuda immediately responded like a loyal dog. "Yes." He followed behind Dujin, neither of them speaking as they walked briskly. Zwuda stared at her back, his mind racing. Not only did she personally sign me, but she also personally brought me into the group and guided my rehearsals. This special treatment, could it be that she's interested in me? Zwuda hesitated, repeatedly thinking she likes me, She doesn't like me, as he rested his chin on his hand, pondering, does she really like me? Since when? Was it the first time we met, or was it when I went to see her alone? The last petal landed on she doesn't like me, and Zwida immediately frowned. At that moment, Doo-jin suddenly stopped. Your performance today is crucial. So Adele was still lost in thought and didn't react in time, bumping right into her. The sudden impact made Doo-jin stumble. Zwida cried out in alarm. Careful. Fortunately, Zwida caught her in time. Doo-jin, supported by him, was unharmed. Both of them realized what had happened and instantly felt extremely awkward. Her face flushed red to the tips of her ears. Zwida, realizing the situation, quickly let go of her hand. I am sorry, Doo-jin. Doo-jin, equally flustered, replied, it's okay. Seeing her blush, Zwida suddenly felt a mischievous urge to tease her. Doo-jin, you're blushing. He suddenly grabbed Doo-jin's hand and shouted again, careful. Zwida grine mischievously. Before she understood what was happening, she fell into his arms again, exclaiming, what are you doing? Doo-jin's face darkened with anger as she demanded, and what was that for this time? Zwida, his intentions exposed, avoided her gaze guiltily and made a random excuse. Just now, a cockroach crawled over, and I was afraid you'd step on it, so I pulled you. Doo-jin frowned, staring intently at his forced smile, thinking to herself, like hell I believe you, you brat. Night fell, the sky filled with stars. In Doo-jin's home, in her bedroom, she sat on her bed wearing a lace nightgown and glasses, working. Suddenly, she received a message from actor phone. I heard you're on a business trip. When can we meet? Doo-jin frowned and swiped the message away without hesitation. Forget it, not interested. Then she received a text message from XX Media. Doo-jin, we have a good variety show we'd like your artist to try out for. She stared at the message for a moment. A variety show offer. Elsewhere, Zwida was sleeping soundly when his phone suddenly rang. The screen displayed Doo-jin. He rubbed his eyes and answered the phone drowsily. Hello, Doo-jin. Zwida mumbled. Yes, I just woke up too. So, hearing Doo-jin's words, Zwida was stunned. Participate in a variety show. Zwida was a little confused. But Doo-jin, you don't manage unknown artists, do you? Doo-jin squinted, her voice calm, as she explained, I'm just asking if you want to participate, not forcing you to become famous. Zwida clenched his fist and excitedly agreed. I do. He hung up the phone, his face flushing red. Zwida's jaw nearly dropped, his eyes wide with disbelief. She actually made an exception for me. He clutched his phone tightly, happy as a puppy with a new treat. She definitely likes me, no doubt about it. Scene change. It's not so humid here. He adjusted his mask and glanced at Doo-jin beside him. Teacher Doo, how many days will we be gone this time? She replied calmly, 2 or 3 days. Doo-jin began to explain Zwida's itinerary. You're currently filming this low-budget, short-cycle movie. The entire production will be completed by machines within 2 months, so it won't interfere with your variety show recording afterward. He responded casually, oh, okay. She continued to explain the purpose of the trip. Today's main task is to take 2 sets of solo photos for you, which will also be useful for the film's later promotion. Doo-jin said to the driver, Driver, please go directly to the shooting location. The driver immediately replied, okay. Filming location. As soon as the staff saw them arrive, they immediately rushed forward. Director Doo, you've worked hard. Doo-jin pushed Zwida forward, take him a makeup. The young woman replied with a bright smile, no problem, leave it to me. Zwida pulled down his mask and said with a polite smile, thank you for your hard work. The staff member's eyes widened, her mouth dropping open in shock. She cried out, phone. Before she could finish, Doo-jin cut her off with a sharp look. The staff member realized her mistake and quickly covered her mouth, forcing an awkward, stiff smile. She quickly changed the subject, nothing. This way, please. But inwardly, she was near tears. I almost mistook him. Why didn't anyone tell me this newcomer looks exactly like actor phone? Director Doo's expression was terrifying. The scene changed as Zwida posing for photos. Under the spotlight, he stood in the center, striking a pose. The photographer called out, Mr. Zwida, give me some expression. The photographer, a veteran, began to guide him. Imagine there's something you really want right in front of you. Zwida tried to imagine, his eyes wandering, searching. Suddenly, his gaze landed on the busy Doo-jin. Her expression was serious. He thought to himself, what do I truly desire? The photographer continued to focus on taking pictures. The photographer exclaimed excitedly, yes, that's the look. Hold it, Mr. Zwa. Praises rained down on Zwada, but he barely heard them, lost in a daze, staring at Du Jin's back as she answered a phone call. She turned around, and the photographer shouted, beautiful. Next set. Zwada snapped back to reality, inwardly scolding himself. What are you looking at, Zwada? You idiot. He covered his face with his hand, looking all-knock and dramatic. Suddenly, someone asked cheerfully, Mr. Zwa, are you related to actor Fong? You two look so much alike. Zwada was startled, his face full of confusion. Fong who? At that moment, Du Jin was preparing to return to the set. She said to the person on the phone, I have to go. There's an artist waiting for photos. She entered and saw everyone packing up. She asked. The photographer turned and said, we're all done. Do you want to take a look? President Du Shi looked around, seemingly searching for someone. No. Send them directly to Director Chin and let him decide. Where's Zwada? The photographer told her. Mr. Zwa went to change his clothes. Du Jin said politely, thank you. A few minutes later, she stood in front of a room, certain that Zwada had entered it earlier. She thought for a moment, then knocked on the door. A voice came from inside. Come in. She pushed the door open and called out, ugh. Before she could finish, a man with his back to her, straightening his clothes, spoke. Did you find what I dropped? Du Jin froze. The voice wasn't Zwada's, yet it was somewhat familiar. She looked up and saw Feng Zijiao's reflection in the mirror. Why was he here? The man was still waiting for an answer, his innocent eyes wide with confusion. Feng Zijiao saw a blurry female figure in the mirror, but when he turned around, she was gone. Feng Zijiao stood there, stunned. Du Jin leaned against the door outside, her face panicked. Oh no, he must have seen me in the mirror. The rhythmic clicking of high heels on the floor grew closer and closer. Du Jin was sweating nervously. Oh no, he's coming out. There's no other way. I have to find a place to hide. This is a disaster. Just as she feared, Feng Zijiao did open the door. Fortunately, before he could spot her, Du Jin had already made a hasty retreat, letting him only catch a glimpse of her fleeing figure. She knew that even if she looked somewhat familiar, Feng Zijiao wouldn't pay much attention. Even more luckily, in the empty corridor, she found a door leading to a room. Without a second thought about who might be inside, Du Jin burst in, panting, and slammed the door shut. Leaning against the door, she gasped for breath, her heart pounding with anxiety. Looking up, she was startled to see Zwada standing half-naked in the room. Zwada was momentarily taken aback by Du Jin's sudden intrusion, but he quickly recovered, flashing his sunny smile and walking toward her. What brings you here? Before he could finish his sentence, Du Jin grabbed his collar, pulling him close. Her other hand covered his mouth. Shut up. The action unintentionally brought them closer, creating a strangely charged atmosphere. Ignoring the blush creeping up his cheeks, Du Jin pressed her lips together, urging him to be quiet. Even with his mouth covered by her small hand, Zwada tried to call out, Teacher Du, accidentally licking her hand in the process. In that instant, Du Jin's eyes widened as if she'd been electrocuted. You brat, she exclaimed, punching him. Ouch. Zwada yelped in pain. Still fuming, Du Jin rapped him on the head. Do you want a tongue anymore? I can donate it to someone who needs it. Zwada clutched his head, looking wronged. I'm sorry. I just wanted to ask what happened. Just then, a knock echoed from the door, followed by Feng Zijiao's deep voice. Du Jin didn't respond. Feng Zijiao frowned suspiciously. Is that you, Du Jin? I heard your voice. I'm sure of it. Meanwhile, Zwada pieced together the reason for Du Jin's unusual behavior, his heart filled with unease. What's going on? Is someone after her? Is she being followed? The more he thought about it, the more agitated he became, wanting to rush out and confront the person. Teacher Du, is someone following you? Don't worry, I'll go get rid of them. But Du Jin stopped him. No need. Zwada, thinking she doubted his abilities, patted his well-toned arms as proof. Teacher Du, even though I'm tired from filming, I'm still in good shape. I can still fight. Du Jin rubbed her temples in exasperation. You're overthinking it. It's not what you think. She sighed. It's a bit complicated. Anyway, you don't need to go out. Just wait until he leaves, okay? Du Jin had been worried that Feng Zijiao would barge in, but thankfully, he didn't. At that moment, a staff member came looking for him. "Mr. Fong, what are you doing here? The studio is ready for filming." Doo-jin breathed a huge sigh of relief. Thank goodness, someone came to the rescue. Fong Zijiao, always prioritizing work, even though he was almost certain Doo-jin was in the room, could only sigh in resignation. "All right, I'll be right there." He turned and left, his footsteps gradually fading away. Finally, Doo-jin was sure he was gone. Only then did Doo-jin's body completely relax. Zwoda quickly noticed the change and called out with concern, "Teacher Do," but Doo-jin seemed unwilling to elaborate. "It's fine now. Pack your things. I'll take you home." On the way to Zwada's place, he couldn't help but ask, "Teacher Do I really look like a certain celebrity, surnamed Fong?" Hearing the displeasure in his voice, Doo-jin didn't answer directly. Instead, she asked coldly, "Who told you that?" Zwoda mumbled, "The crew members this afternoon all said I looked like that best actor Fong, and they didn't seem happy about it. Is plastic surgery common in the entertainment industry? I debuted later than him. What if people say I got plastic surgery to look like him?" Hearing this, Doo-jin chuckled softly. Zwoda's mood instantly brightened. "Teacher Do, have you met him? Do I really look that much like him?" Doo-jin hesitated a little. Seeing his face about to fall, she glanced at his alluring features and added, "Don't worry, you're much more handsome than him." Zwoda immediately beamed with satisfaction. Not wanting to dwell on the topic, Doo-jin changed the subject. "By the way, the company has finalized your apartment. You can move in after we finish filming this drama." Scrolling through her phone schedule, she continued, "Also, I've contacted Xianzichi to finish filming your scenes as soon as possible. We need to arrange some variety shows in advance. This drama will take at least another month to film." Zwoda asked, "When am I going back?" Doo-jin turned to look at him. She found that he had somehow moved very close, staring at her with his bright, wolf-like eyes, as if expecting something. Doo-jin couldn't help but shrink back. The driver in front was also surprised and looked back to ask if everything was all right in the back. Doo-jin anxiously asked Zwoda what he was doing, but her hand quietly pressed the button to raise the partition. Seeing the partition slowly rising, the driver was so nervous he broke out in a cold sweat, not daring to be curious. But Zwoda didn't do anything out of line. He simply reached out and plucked a red maple leaf from Doo-jin's hat. "Here," he said, "this leaf has been hanging on your hat. It probably fell there when you got in." It was easy to see a strange blush creep onto Doo-jin's cheeks. Wouldn't it be a pity not to tease her now? Zwoda shuklad softly. "Teacher Do, don't react so strongly." The alluring little devil kissed the leaf and continued, "You're acting like we're doing something we shouldn't be." At night, under a sky full of stars, Zwoda sat to the side, staring absent-mindedly at his phone. He thought to himself, "It's been 7 days since I finished filming and went home. Why hasn't Teacher Do contacted me yet? Since that's the case, I'll have to take the initiative." He raised his phone to the sky and snapped a few photos of the beautiful night scene. Then he chose the prettiest one and sent it to Doo-jin, adding what he thought was the cutest message, "Meteor shower, borrowing it to make a wish." Teacher Do, meanwhile, on Doo-jin's side. She had just gotten into bed when she received Zwoda's message. She couldn't help but chuckle softly. This kid. A faint blush appeared on her face. Seeing her quick reply, "Just one photo. How can I make a wish with that?" Zwoda's mood instantly brightened. He immediately initiated a video call. Holding his phone as the screen displayed, "Zwoda is inviting you to a video call." Doo-jin didn't press decline. Instead, she quickly grabbed a jacket and draped it over herself, covering her sexy nightgown, completing a 1-second transformation into a dignified and proper appearance. Only after tidying herself up did she dare to press the answer button. As soon as the call connected, Zwoda winked playfully. "Teacher Do, you're not asleep yet. Insomnia. You seem even more handsome than the last time we met." Doo-jin couldn't help but blush, shyly letting out a soft mm. Hearing this, Zwoda said happily, "Great. Teacher Do, wait for me a moment." In less than a few minutes, Zwoda returned with a guitar. Afraid that Doo-jin wouldn't notice, he deliberately plucked the strings a few times, producing a crisp ding-ding sound. Doo-jin knew that Zwoda wouldn't bring such an instrument when filming, as it was too much trouble. Curious, she asked, "Where did you find that?" Zwoda smiled and replied, "It's a prop I need for my role. How about I play a song for Teacher Do?" Although she liked the idea very much. Doo-jin pretended to be indifferent, resting her chin on her hand and complaining stiffly, annoying. "Zwoda imediately froned unha pili." "Teacher Do, you have no romantic cells at all. Not everyone gets the chance to be lulled to sleep by my singing personally." Jin retorted, "Who asked you to lull me to sleep?" So Zwada could only pester her like a child. "Just listen. Listen. Exasperated, Jin finally relented." "Shut up. I'll listen, all right." Finally getting his way, Zwada quieted down and concentrated on playing the guitar. Still on the balcony, under the starry sky, he chose a nice spot facing his phone and began to play the first gentle melody. Just like that, Zwada's melodious music slowly and gently soothed all of Jin's stress and fatigue. In a corner he couldn't see, a deeply satisfied smile played on Jin's lips. Zwada played a section of the song, then looked up at his phone, only to find that Jin's screen had gone black at some point. He quickly picked up his phone and asked, somewhat bewildered, "Teacher Du, are you still listening?" But there was no response. Zwada could only assume that she had fallen asleep. The mission of lulling her to sleep was accomplished. Zwada smiled with satisfaction and whispered good night. But he himself didn't know whether to be happy or sad. He had originally intended to tease her, but he ended up being the one teased. Tonight was a disaster. It was only at this moment that Zwada truly realized that he had fallen for her tonight. He subconsciously pressed the record button. Being honest with his feelings was important to Zwada, so now he really wanted to preserve this precious moment. All right, let tonight's song be our love song. Let this video witness this special moment. From today onwards, Jin and I officially begin our secret love journey. At the same time, he told himself to be prepared to take steps forward on both sides. Time flew by quickly. He didn't know how long Jin had been asleep until he was woken by the vibration of his phone. Jin wearily reached for her phone on the nightstand. She answered the phone with a hoarse hello. Her assistant's energetic voice immediately filled the line. "Zong, you're not up yet. Hurry and check Weibo." Zwada posted a guitar solo video past 2 in the morning. Jin snapped awake, sat up, and anxiously asked what happened with the video. "Is the boss under too much stress lately?" The assistant forced a chuckle. "Nothing's wrong. It's trending." To emphasize Zwada's current popularity, she enthusiastically added, "He played at the Fountain Square before," and someone looked up his Weibo ID and went through his older posts. His follower count has skyrocketed. Everyone knows he's signed with Xinghui now. Jin nodded. "Got it, I'll take a look." She quickly found and opened the video. It was indeed Zwada. The background, his clothes, even the angle of his profile. Jin knew it all better than anyone. She thought to herself, a random guitar solo video goes viral. Is the person I signed not a lucky charm? 3 days later, at Guangjiang restaurant, Jin stood in the restroom, sending a message to Zwada. "It's already 7:30. Why aren't you here yet? The investors have asked about you several times." Zwada quickly replied, "Just finished moving and took a shower. Be here soon." Jin sighed and muttered, "Still so much trouble." She turned to leave and was suddenly bumped, unsure if it was intentional or not. Both turned around to apologize almost simultaneously, surprised to find the other was someone they knew. With a hint of astonishment, Jin called out, "Chu Chung." Chu Chung immediately retorted sarcastically, Well, Jin. Fancy meeting you here. Long time no see. I thought you were deliberately avoiding me." Jin calmly patted the arm Chu Chung had bumped into. "Why would I want to see you? Do I even want to see you? Not want to waste any more time." She said directly, "Don't pretend we're close." She turned to leave, but Chu Chung wasn't about to let her go that easily. "I heard Zong signed a new talent recently." Seeing Jin glare at her, Chu Chung couldn't help but laugh. "Don't look at me like that." A smirk played on her lips as she continued. "I saw the posters and stills for director Exine's movie. That new little brother is really handsome. I heard you personally escorted him to the set. And that's not all." She leaned closer to Jin's ear, her smile sly. "This one looks a lot more like the last one, doesn't he? Are you planning to make him a top star too?" Her intentions were crystal clear. Chu Chung was shoved hard against the wall by Jin. Jin leaned in, her voice firm. "Watch your words." Chu Chung glared back furiously. Jin, you find one replacement after another. Don't you think you're being fake?" Jin's face was cold. "Whether I'm fake or not is none of your business. You're the fake one." Jin began to verbally dismantle Chu Chung. "Got another nose job, didn't you? Eye corners lifted, cheekbones shaved, even your chest is fake. And you still dare to call yourself a natural beauty in the industry and to the public. That's all you've got." Jin gripped Chu Cheng's cheek, her expression menacing, like a warning. "Keep your mouth clean. Don't forget who you are and what you've done. This is my last warning." Jin slowly released her grip. "If you spout any more nonsense, I won't hesitate to push you out of the industry. You know I can." Watching Jin's retreating figure, Chu Chung gritted her teeth and cursed under her breath. "Jin, you crazy woman." Then she suddenly started laughing. Clutching her phone, Chu Chang sent a message and murmured, "The show has just begun." That night, in a certain house, Dujin sat there, drinking straight from the bottle. She sighed. Ugh. Suddenly, a voice came from behind her. "Why are you dressed so lightly?" Dujin turned around to see Feng Zijiao. Looking at him, she thought, what is Feng Zijiao doing here? She tried to reassure herself. No, this must be a hallucination. Unfortunately, it wasn't. Feng Zijiao put his hand on her shoulder. "Since we've met, stop avoiding me." Dujin shrugged him off. "Is there something urgent you need from me?" He started playing the victim, complaining, "You're so cruel. You don't answer my calls or messages. Wasn't that you in my dressing room last time? You even try to run after seeing me. How much do you hate me?" Dujin replied coldly, "You're neither a contractual partner nor one of my artists. Why should I waste my time on you?" Feng Zijiao quickly regained his usual composure, not even wanting to use their past relationship as leverage. "I know you're still angry about what happened 3 years ago. The film we worked on together didn't even get released. That's why I came back to apologize. I've already contacted director Kong. We're going to finish that film, and if all goes well, it will be released online next year." Suddenly, Dujin dropped a bombshell, ex-boyfriend. "When were we ever together?" She said it so bluntly, yet Feng Zijiao still tried to salvage the situation. "At least our hearts were connected, weren't they?" Dujin replied, "No." Another stab to his heart. Feng Zijiao was momentarily speechless. Then he changed the subject. "By the way, I heard you recently signed a new artist." Before he could finish, Dujin interrupted him. "It's none of your business. Let the past be the past. You can leave now." Feng Zijiao just sighed after hearing this. He looked at her tenderly. "All right, remember to go home early. It's cold outside." He thought to himself, "Forget it. I'll just go along with her today. I'll go now. We'll see each other again soon anyway." Half an hour later, Dujin slammed the bottle heavily on the table. By now, she was completely drunk. A voice rang out. "Why are you dressed so lightly?" She turned her head and thought to herself, "Why is he back again?" It was Zwuda. He draped his coat over her. "Teacher Du, why are you drinking so much alone?" he said as he reached for her bottle. Dujin immediately snatched the bottle back and hugged it tightly. "This is mine." Zwuda stood beside her and advised, "You can't drink anymore." She thought drunkenly, what is he saying? Is this really Zwuda or someone else? "Where am I?" Zwuda's figure was blurry in her eyes, almost invisible. Zwuda asked Dujin. Dujin replied weakly, "Is that you?" Zwuda held out his hand. "Who else could it be?" "Are you drunk? Can you see how many fingers I'm holding up?" But she didn't answer. She just grabbed his hand. Dujin wanted to whisper something, but Zwuda didn't hear clearly. He wondered, what is she saying? Dujin was still holding his hand tightly, a gentle smile on her face. "Long time no see." Hearing these words, Zwuda's face flushed red. He stammered, Yeah, long time no see." He started teasing her. "You're so heartless, leaving me alone there for a whole month, barely even calling." Dujin put on a cute expression. "Are you blaming me?" He quickly shook his head in denial. "I'm not blaming you." She hesitated for a moment and whispered to him, "But I still." Dujin's eyes welled up with tears. "I still miss you a little." As soon as she finished speaking, Zwuda felt like he was about to explode. "Is this a confession?" Teacher Du said, "She misses me." What does this mean? Drunken words speak the sober heart. That night, on the villa's balcony, Zwuda stammered to Dujin, "Also, you." But Dujin ignored him completely, her gaze drawn to the wine bottle. "Wine." Suddenly, she yelled, "I can still drink more," and then lost her balance, falling forward. Zwuda cried out in alarm. "Teacher Du, be careful." Luckily, he caught her in time and thoughtfully protected her forehead with his hand, preventing her from hitting the railing. Dujin suddenly froze. Zwuda asked with great concern, "Did you hit yourself? Does it hurt?" "Let me see." Not only did she not cry, but she smiled casually. "It doesn't hurt. It's soft." Seeing her smile, his heart pounded. He said, "Teacher Du, this is against the rules." Dujin looked confused. Ooh. Zwuda brought his face very close to hers and asked, "Can I kiss you?" Dujin shyly replied, "This is a hotel. There might be cameras." Zwuda suddenly grabbed the back of her collar, lifted her up, and then covered their heads with his coat. "Now no one can see." Dujin immediately said, "You're just playing dumb and getting caught." Before she could finish her sentence, Zwuda sealed her lips with a kiss. They continued to kiss each other, the atmosphere extremely ambiguous. Finally, they parted, both breathing heavily. So, Buddha said teasingly, "Beautiful Chi-Chi, give me a chance, okay? Don't reject me, okay?" Suddenly, Do-Jin woke up in a completely different space. She rubbed her forehead uncomfortably, thinking, "My head hurts so much. I'm so dizzy. How much did I drink last night?" In the empty room, she muttered to herself in a panic, "Wait, how did I get home? Wasn't I at the rap party? I remember seeing Chu-Ching arguing. And then I blacked out. My head is killing me. I don't remember anything. How did I get back? I'm still wearing yesterday's clothes. Did my assistant drag me back?" Suddenly, knock, knock. There was a knock at the door. "Just a minute, I'm coming." She scrambled out of bed and quickly changed her clothes. I opened the door, and Zwida was standing there, holding 2 bags of breakfast. "Morning, sleepyhead, your breakfast delivery is here." Seeing him, I froze. "What are you doing here?" I finally managed to ask. He just walked in casually, acting as if he owned the place. "There's a bit of everything. See what you like." I stared at him, finding it all very strange. "That's not what I asked. How do you know where I live?" He casually placed his slippers in the shoe cabinet, as if he were in his own home. I felt a shiver down my spine. This was too weird. How'd he know where to put the slippers? Had he been here before? Suddenly it hit me. Wait, was he the one who brought me back last night? Zwida turned around. "Stop spacing out. Come over here." He laid out the food. "It's almost 11. Just have something to eat as brunch." I just mumbled a response. I began, "Are you settling in all right?" Zwida simply said, "It's okay." I was about to reach for the food when he suddenly grabbed my hand. Zwida lowered his head and kissed my hand. My face flushed crimson, and I was completely stunned. What was he doing? What on earth was he doing? He smiled. "I just found out the company arranged for me to stay in the apartment downstairs from yours." At that moment, I was completely dumbfounded. Zwida continued. "If I'd known, I would have been more proactive." I still hadn't recovered when I suddenly remembered the conversation with my assistant. "Mr. Du, what kind of apartment should I find for you?" "Something convenient and suitable will do. You decide." My assistant had happily agreed. I mentally cursed. What kind of fate was this? I could only sigh and ruffle Zwida's fluffy hair. The modern-style house stood quietly among the green trees. Inside, Du-Jin sat cross-legged on the chaise lounge. Remember that variety show I told you about? The one that combines live streaming and recording. I'm going to be on it. Zwida, who was eating a snack, froze at her words. "You're going too." Du-Jin languidly wiped the corner of her eye. "The show's director owes me a favor and asked me to be a special guest. I couldn't really refuse." She pointed at the young man in front of her and said seriously, "Pack your bags. We're leaving tomorrow morning." Zwida wagged his tail happily like a puppy. "All right." Du-Jin thought to herself, resignedly. This kid is so eager to be on a variety show. He really wants to be famous, huh? The next day, in front of a luxurious villa, the sun bathed the entire courtyard. Du-Jin rang the doorbell, Zwida trailing behind her with his luggage. After a while, the door opened, and a pink-haired boy stood there, looking sleepy. Zhang Xian's eyes were red-rimmed. "Sis, I finally get to meet you." He rushed over and grabbed Du-Jin's hand. "My name is Zhang Xian. I'm one of the male guests on this show, and I'm your fan, a die-hard fan. I've watched every movie you've been in at least 10 times. He excitedly held Du-Jin's hand. "I'm so happy to be recording a show with you. Can I get your autograph?" Zwida took off his glasses, unhappy with the scene, thinking to himself, just because he's watched her movies 10 times, he can touch her like that. He deliberately nudged his suitcase, forcing Zhang Xian to let go of Du-Jin's hand. Zwida's handsome face was full of disdain. "Done touching her. Can we go in now?" Zhang Xian immediately bristled. "Who are you?" "Her bodyguard." That question stabbed Du-Jin like a knife. The two men glared at each other like two wild beasts ready to fight. Just then, an elegant woman walked out. All right, you two stop it. There are cameras here." Director Kong Ling greeted them with a smile. "Xiaodu, long time no see." She continued, "Today we're mainly filming the connecting segments. Time is a bit tight. Can we start right away?" Du-Jin readily agreed, of course. Kong Ling waved her silk scarf. "Everyone, get ready." Zhang Xian's eyes sparkled as he asked, "Sister Du, can I be in the shot with you?" He followed Du-Jin like a little puppy. "Sister Du, I accidentally cut my hand." Zwida gritted his teeth behind them, a look of exasperation spreading across his face. Zhang Xian continued to cling to Du-Jin. "Sister Du, can I get your autograph?" On the way back, Zwida finally unleashed all the frustration he'd been holding in all morning. "That guy is so annoying. like a chihuahua, yapping nonstop, so noisy, and he even dared to ask for an autograph. Dujin calmly replied, "It's just an autograph for Zhang Xian. You've been going on about it for ages. Is it really that serious?" Zhuda puffed out his cheeks sulkily. He leaned closer, his eyes full of anger. "Of course it's serious. I don't even have your autograph." Dujin pushed Zhuda's face away in exasperation. "Fine, I'll give you a big one. Will two be enough?" Zhuda held Dujin's hand, nuzzling their face against it. "Really?" Dujin's voice softened. "I have things to do this afternoon, but I'll sign it for you when I get back tonight. Go home and wait for me." Zhuda accepted the order like an obedient puppy. "Okay, I'll wait for you." Dusk settled, soft clouds dotting the sky above the hospital. In a private counseling room, therapist Feng Tian sipped their coffee. "It's been a while since you've been here. You seem to be in good spirits lately. Has anything good happened?" A thoughtful look entered Dujin's eyes. "Well, I recently met a new friend. He's a new artist I just signed." She placed her phone on the table, the screen displaying a picture of a handsome young man. "This is a photo from his recent movie makeup test." Feng Tian's eyes widened, a smile gracing their face. "He seems like a nice young man." Dujin sighed. "He's a bit mischievous, actually." Feng Tian's next words caught Dujin off guard. "But he makes you happy, doesn't he?" The image of Zhuda flashed through Dujin's mind. A blush crept across her face. Feng Tian pressed, "So you like him?" Dujin looked up. "Huh." She hesitated before answering. "I don't know. I can't tell the difference between liking someone and other feelings." Feng Tian suggested, "But you've met someone suitable. Why not take the first step and give it a try? What do you think?" Dujin's voice was quiet. "But he's younger than me." Feng Tian chuckled reassuringly. "So what if he's younger? Young people have more energy. Isn't that better?" Their eyes held a hint of playfulness. "I thought you needed a little change to break the monotony of life." Dujin clutched her phone. Zhuda's picture still displayed on the screen. Break the monotony. Half an hour later, Dujin walked briskly into her company car. The person in the front seat immediately responded, "Director Du." Her phone suddenly lit up. It was a message from Feng Zijiao. "Are you home? I just got back from France and have something for you." Dujin Kirstenwaldli. Had this guy been drinking something strange lately? He'd left the entertainment industry ages ago, and they hadn't been in contact. Why was he clinging to her like glue since announcing his comeback? A notification tone chimed in the quiet car. It was a message from her puppy. "Are you back yet? I learned 2 new dishes and want to bring them over for you to try." Feng Tian's suggestive words echoed in her mind, leaving her deep in thought. Should I take this step? Zhuda's voice yelled from the other end of the phone. "Oh no, oh no. The pan's burnt, the pan's burnt. Your house is gonna burn down. Bro Zhuda, you can fry an egg for an hour. I really regret agreeing to teach you. Your learning curve is made of stone. Bedrock." Zhuda frantically flipped the egg. "Can you shut up for a second?" As Zhuda fumbled, Zhuda continued to tease. The young master, who's never been in a kitchen, is now cooking for love. "When did you become a lovesick fool?" In his haste, Zhuda accidentally cut his hand. Zhuda scoffed. "Cut yourself again. Be careful. Don't cripple yourself before you finish cooking." Zhuda yelled, "Get out." Zhuda suddenly turned serious. "But seriously, you have to be careful. Don't get played. There are a lot of scumbags out there, especially those pretty, bad-hearted women." Zhuda ignored Zhuda, silently licking his wound. This time, he was particularly earnest. "She's not like that." Zhuda frowned. "You." Just then, a message from Dujin popped up. Zhuda immediately hung up the phone. "I am Busu. Gotta go." Zhuda didn't even have a chance to speak before the line went dead. "Huh." Looking at the message, the corners of Zhuda's mouth turned up slightly. "I'm on my way home. Wait for me." Another message popped up. The 2 words Zhuyu hit him like a punch to the gut. The screen was instantly flooded with questions. "Bro, what you doing? You joined the entertainment industry. Are you crazy? Dad's gonna break your legs." Zhuda's mind was filled with warning signs, as if his legs were about to be broken. Half an hour later, Dujin stepped out of the elevator. "Hello, can you hear me? Where are you?" She muttered to herself. "This elevator has terrible reception." A voice came from ahead, stopping Dujin in her tracks. "Can you hear me clearly now?" A sharply dressed man stood before her. He waved his phone. "I'm right at your door." Feng Xiao handed her a gift bag. "Sorry it's so sudden, but I bought this especially for you, so I wanted to give it to you as soon as possible." Dujin took it indifferently. "Thanks." Feng Zijiao continued. "I rushed over during a break from filming. Now that the gift is delivered, I should go. Are you free for dinner sometime?" Dujin said coldly, "Sorry, Feng Zijiao quickly interrupted. "I've been considering directing lately. If you don't mind, we could collaborate. What do you think?" Dujin Bonde. Zuoda didn't seem to have any new projects lately. She replied, if it's a collaboration. He smiled gently and said, okay, let's make plans another time. They waved goodbye, and he turned to leave. Doojin thought to herself, finally got rid of that bodhisattva, and there's still a great Buddha waiting for me downstairs. Back home, Zuoda had already beautifully arranged the dishes. Doojin asked, did you make all of this? Zuoda put a hand on his hip and proudly said, yes, yes, yes. Try it. As soon as the food entered her mouth, Doojin thought burnt. She glanced at Zuoda, seeing his worried expression, and thought again, with so many band-aids on his hands, this kid really put in the effort for this meal. Responding to Zuoda's expectant gaze, Doojin said, delicious. Zuoda, like a praised puppy, immediately wagged his tail happily. If you like it, eat more. I'll make it for you again. Doojin agreed. Okay. She gently placed her chopsticks on an empty bowl. I'm finished. Thank you for the meal. I have a variety show to attend tomorrow, so I need to rest early tonight. I'll be going then. Seeing Doojin get up, Zuoda quickly said, why you're leaving so soon? She asked what's wrong. Zuoda stammered, Actually, he could only say in his heart, I don't want you to leave. I want to spend a little more time alone with you. Damn it, I can't say it. He gathered his courage and grabbed Doojin's hand. I've run into some trouble recently and wanted to hear Teacher Do's opinion. Let's sit in the living room and I'll tell you slowly. Doojin listened attentively as Zuoda explained, recently, I've found that I can't act in romance scenes. My state isn't right. I just can't seem to do it. Doojin thought to herself, has he not seen my acting? I've been avoiding romance scenes all these years. This genre isn't my forte. She frowned slightly and replied, well, maybe you could watch more romantic movies to get a feel for it. He suddenly moved closer. What about kissing scenes? Doojin was taken aback. Kissing scenes. Zuoda moved even closer, his tone ambiguous. Yeah, kissing scenes. How do you get a feel for those? Doojin stammered that. Zuoda continued to press forward. Teacher, Doojin's mind became increasingly flustered. He's too close. I should move away or push him away. Her face flushed red. But why is Zuoda's face practically touching mine? Doojin froze, her body completely unable to move. Zuoda leaned in closer and closer. Just as their lips were about to touch, Doojin's phone suddenly rang. Startled, she turned to answer the phone. Hello, Zuoda licked his lips, thinking that phone call came at a really bad time, but no harm done. He glanced again at Doojin's rosy lips. She turned back to the phone call. Yes, go ahead. She walked towards the door as she spoke. Okay, I understand. At that moment, Zuoda suddenly patted her shoulder and softly called. Teacher Doojin turned around and saw him making a heart shape with his hands, smiling sweetly at her. Her face immediately flushed crimson, and she hurried away, leaving Zuoda pouting at the rejection. She stepped into the elevator and pressed the button. The elevator announced, doors closing. Please be careful. She continued speaking to the person on the phone. Okay, it's settled then. We'll talk about the details later. After hanging up the phone, she leaned against the elevator wall and sighed. Recalling the scene with Zuoda just now, she asked herself, why didn't I move away just now? Honestly, a few seconds later, the elevator reached the 6th floor. 6th floor, it announced. She stepped out of the elevator and walked towards her room. Walking down the hallway, she suddenly noticed an unfamiliar box. She looked at the note on the box, picked it up, and read, I don't know if your tastes have changed, but I hope you enjoy tonight's dinner. At the event, fans saw Doojin appear and excitedly shouted, Teacher Do, it's really Teacher Do. I didn't expect her to be the special guest. Hee, I saw Teacher Do at the interview last time. I'm so happy. They surrounded her, asking for autographs. Teacher Do, I've been a fan of yours for years. Can I get your autograph? Me too. Zuoda stood at the back of the crowd, feeling very annoyed. Her fans are everywhere. When it was Yangming's turn, he excitedly said to her, Teacher Do. Before he could finish speaking, Zuoda stepped in front of him and pushed him aside. He rudely interrupted Yangming. What are you doing? Teacher Do has traveled a long way and needs to rest. Then he gently said to Doojin, let's go. I'll take you back to your room to rest. She coldly replied, okay. Doojin silently observed Zuoda's expression and thought, could he? She stared at his face. He didn't seem to be in a good mood. Back in her room, Du-jin unpacked her luggage, thinking, thank goodness the special guest doesn't have to appear right away. I still have time to organize. She picked up a shirt, and a photo of her and Feng Zijiao suddenly fell out. It was a picture of her and another man in an intimate embrace. Curious, Du-jin picked up the photo and wondered who went through my luggage. Why would they put these photos in here? What are they trying to do? Suddenly, she panicked when she saw another photo. It was a picture of a mysterious man. How did his picture end up here too? Meanwhile, in another room, Zhang Xian was chatting with Shu Ai. You're a fan of Teacher Du too. Which of her movies do you like the most? Shu Ai replied excitedly. Is that even a question? The Awakening, of course. I can even recite the lines. Woo, Mama Jean loves you. Zan Shin Suden ni remember du Jean's birthday. Oh right, Teacher Du's birthday is on the 1st of next month, right? Should we get her a gift? Shu Ai is what? Duh. Sitting nearby, overheard their conversation about birthdays. His heart skipped a beat. Birthday? He suddenly interjected. Isn't Teacher Du's birthday on March 12th? Zhang Xian and Shu Ai laughed. You've been fooled by the information online. The birthday and zodiac sign are all made up. You can't believe everything. Actually, Teacher Du's real birthday is New Year's Day. After hearing this, Zwoda muttered to himself, calculating, that's less than a week away. This thought made him panic. Holding his head, he exclaimed, oh no, I haven't prepared anything. Zwoda quickly grabbed his phone and started sending messages. First, he texted Zwair to fish for information. Sis, is there anything you particularly want lately? Then he sent an SOS to Shui Chung. Dude, SOS. What's a good birthday gift for a girlfriend? Seeing his panicked expression, Zhang Xian teased, are you a fake fan? Come here, let's fill you in on Teacher Du's basic information. Shu Ai chimed in, reciting Du Jin's zodiac sign, blood type, height, and weight. Within seconds, Zwida's phone buzzed with a notification. He picked up his phone, assuming it was a reply. He thought that was fast, but when he saw it was an unknown number, his face changed. The message contained a photo of Feng Zijiao and Du Jin, along with a cryptic sentence. If you want to know more, ask Du Jin yourself. After reading it, Zwoda immediately turned around, completely ignoring Shu Ai's surprise question. Where are you going? Aren't you going to listen anymore? He rushed out of the room and went straight to find Du Jin. At that moment, Du Jin was sitting in her room, staring blankly at the photo, lost in thought. Suddenly, she heard the door open and looked up. Zwoda stormed in with a dark expression, his aura oppressive. Du Jin quickly hid the photo behind her back. Hide it quickly. Seeing his gloomy face, she wondered, why is he so angry? Did he have a fight with the guests downstairs? Unexpectedly, Zwoda walked straight towards her, pulled her up, and demanded, aren't you going to explain this to me? She cried out in pain and retorted angrily, explain what? Let go. We're at the filming location. There's so many people and cameras outside. Do you want us to be trending tomorrow? So Zwoda held up the photo on his phone and questioned, then explained this. Seeing the photo, Du Jin froze, too shocked to speak. He said coldly, no wonder Chinjinchi told me privately that I wasn't special at all. I see now. Then he pointed to the photo on the bed. The real reason is right here. The photo on the bed was of Feng Zijiao. Du Jin looked down at the photo and defended herself. It's not what you think. Zwoda roughly grabbed her shoulders and snapped. The facts are right in front of me. How is it not what I think? Then he started rambling about their first meeting. No wonder you looked at me strangely the first time we met. The more he spoke, the more agitated he became, leaving Du Jin stunned. You found a man who looks exactly the same. Teacher Du, is this some kind of obsession, or are you just playing with me? Du Jin felt a pang of pain in her heart, thinking, why would he say such hurtful things? It's not like that at all. She forced herself to say, Zwoda, can you please not be so petty? Although her words were strong, her heart was in turmoil. This is so painful. I really don't want to talk about this. Hearing her words, Zwoda suddenly felt regretful, asking himself, it's too late to say anything now. Regret is useless. What should I do? I don't want this. But he still took a step closer, aggressively pressing Du Jin, petty. Do you think I'm joking with you? Should I thank you for letting me see the truth in such a short time? When you kissed me, were you thinking of me, Feng Zijiao, or the man in the photo? His words were too harsh. Du Jin was stunned by his question, stammering, I kissed you. Zwoda pressed further, forgot. Or are you going to say it doesn't count because you were drunk? She awkwardly explained, no, He immediately interrupted her. It's okay if you forgot. I'll help you remember. With that, he decisively pushed Du Jin onto the bed. Du Jin, kiyi out? She angrily said, you brat, you. Zwoda immediately kissed her, getting straight to the point without any unnecessary moves. Jean groaned, and suddenly someone knocked on the door. Seeing this, Jean struggled desperately. She stopped and said, Zwoda knows someone's here. But he ignored her completely, continuing to kiss her, stubborn like a little devil. The knocking grew more urgent, a rapid bang, bang, bang. Jean couldn't take it anymore, and suddenly bit Zwoda's lip hard. She slapped him across the face and shouted, "Get out!" Tears welled up in her eyes. She regretted letting him get close in the first place. "I can't continue this. I really can't." Zwoda said shamelessly, "Teacher don't overreact. It's just a bit of fun. What's the difference between a stand-in and the real thing, right?" He licked the blood from his lip and said smugly, "The face is the same, but I have a better body, don't I?" As he spoke, he slowly took off his jacket. "I wonder who's the better kisser." Zwoda threw his jacket on the floor without hesitation, his movements exaggerated. Then he lifted his shirt, revealing enviable six-pack abs. He declared to Jean, "Actually, I'm quite confident in my bedroom skills, too." He caressed her delicate face and suggested, "Why don't we try it out on this bed?" He looked at her intensely and continued, "That way, Teacher can make a more thorough comparison." Then Zwoda pushed her down onto the bed. Jean cried out in panic, "Zwoda, how dare you!" She kicked him in the chest, knocking him to the floor. Zwoda yelped in pain. She sat up angrily and warned, "This is the last time. Stay away from me from now on." He ignored her, sneering. "What if I don't?" She continued, "After we finish filming the variety show, you'll go to the company and terminate your contract. I'll transfer you to another company." Hearing this, Zwoda's expression changed. "Am I just a plaything in your hands? You throw me away when you're tired of me. I won't terminate the contract." He looked at her defiantly and then turned to leave. At the door, he turned back, his expression pitiful and sad. He asked, Jean, "Do you really not feel anything at all?" Hearing this, she didn't know how to answer. After he asked, he turned and walked out of the room, slamming the door shut, leaving her alone. She curled up, burying her face in her knees, thinking, what a mess. How did things turn out like this? Especially this photo. She looked up at the photo, lying on the bed. Then she picked up the phone and dialed. "Hello, it's me. I need a detailed investigation of the guests on this variety show, including the special guest's identity." Scene change. Variety show filming set. The guests were already gathered in the living room, chatting animatedly. The director said, "The special guest has arrived. Everyone, guess who it is?" Someone replied, "I don't know, but I really admire Senior Feng Zijiao. I hope to have the opportunity to work with him on a film." But Film Emperor Feng has already returned to Hong Kong to develop his career, and he's never participated in a variety show. Shu AI said excitedly after hearing this, "I hope it's Teacher Jean. I'm a huge fan of hers." At this moment, Jean was standing behind them, having heard the entire conversation. Then she walked out and spoke, startling everyone. "I think I just heard someone mention my name." Then she introduced herself. "Hello everyone, I'm Jean. I'm very happy to be participating in this variety show with all of you." As soon as she appeared, everyone's eyes focused on her, except for Zwoda. Scene change. The director announced to everyone, "Now please come forward and draw lots. 2 people per group." When it was Jin's turn, she reached into the box, silently praying, "Please don't let it be Zwoda." When it was Zwoda's turn, he muttered softly, "Give me Jean." Both of them nervously drew their lots. After the draw, the director announced, "Congratulations everyone on completing the grouping. Teacher Du and Zhang Xian are a group, Lin Yulio and Zwoda are a group, Shu Winnie and Shu AI are a group, and Feng Qingdi is in a group by himself." Someone felt relieved to have escaped being paired with Zwoda, while another was clearly unhappy. Zwoda clenched his fists angrily, watching Zhang Xian and Jean chatting and laughing. He thought, why is she paired with that puppy? Zhang Xin. After a while, the director announced, "Now everyone, please move to the kitchen to begin today's task." By this time, Zhang Xian and Jean had already arrived in the kitchen. The director continued, "Each group has 1 hour to prepare at least 2 dishes for lunch. The final results will be judged by the staff, and the winning group will be selected." Then he asked, "Teacher can you cook?" She said with a helpless expression, "No." Hearing this, his eyes lit up, and he pointed at the ceiling, showing off. "All right, now it's time for your number 1 superfan to take the stage. Just relax and watch me work my magic." Jean said somewhat anxiously, "Thanks. Let me at least help you wash the vegetables." She was about to grab the vegetable basket when Zhang Xian, eyes brimming with tears, snatched it back. "Teacher be careful washing the vegetables. It's okay if they're not perfectly clean. I'll take care of it. This left Jean feeling a little awkward. Get to me. Just as she was halfway through washing the cabbage, a hand suddenly reached out. Let me borrow that for a sec. It was Zwuda standing behind her. I want to quickly wash a melon. She muttered impatiently, first come, first served. Do I need to teach you manners? So Hada's expression immediately changed upon hearing this, and he put on a frail appearance. Teacher Du is already ignoring me. What's wrong with me cutting in line to wash a melon? I'm so wronged. Zwuda leaned close to her ear. Besides, he stepped on my foot. He deliberately said this loudly to attract everyone's attention. Jean hurriedly looked down and only then realized that her 10-centimeter high heels had been on Zwuda's foot the entire time, and she hadn't even noticed. She frantically apologized to him, and Zwuda just forced a smile. It's okay. After that, she quickly grabbed the vegetable basket and ran off. Watching her hurriedly escape, Jean Xian couldn't help but laugh. Teacher Du looks so cute when she panics. Thinking to himself, he happily handed the vegetable basket to Lin Yulua. The vegetables are washed. You can chop them. Lin Yulua looked at his happy expression and asked, "Why are you so happy?" Recalling what had just happened, Zwuda replied while chopping vegetables, "I just think it's quite interesting." As soon as he finished speaking, Zhang Xian's voice rang out. "Teacher Du, I cut my finger again." Zwuda froze for 5 seconds, then turned to see Jean seriously bandaging Zhang Xian's finger. She said sternly, "Why do you always cut yourself? Let me do the chopping." Zhang Xian seized the opportunity and cried out, "It hurts so much. Teacher Du, can you blow on it for me?" Zwuda was furious. He slammed the knife down on the carrot and cursed under his breath, "Damn it." After venting his anger, he looked up, his handsome face still splashed with water from the carrot, and said to Lin Yulua, "Hey, sorry, it slipped. Can you give me a new cutting board?" Lin Yulua felt a chill down her spine. This guy's a little scary. Half an hour later, seeing that the cooking time was almost up, Jean said, "Zhang Xian, the vegetables are chopped. I'm going to start the stove." She thought anxiously, "I didn't expect chopping vegetables to take half an hour. There's not enough time. I have to hurry." Thinking this, she grabbed the soup pot and rushed to the stove, only to slip on a puddle of water on the floor. She panicked. Oh no. Before she fell, a hand caught her. It was Zwuda. He asked with concern, "Are you all right?" Teacher Zwuda's face was almost touching hers, his expression full of worry, which made her feel a bit uneasy. Gosh, how did he react so quickly? Was he watching me the whole time? Then he leaned in even closer and nibbled on her hair. Jin's face flushed red. "Teacher Du, are you okay?" he asked, startled. Jean pushed him away. "Don't touch me." Zwuda's face instantly fell, and he looked utterly dejected. Oh. Seeing this, her heart softened a little. Her tone also softened. "I'll go back now. You focus on the competition." As soon as she turned around, Zwuda immediately grinned. "I hugged my sister. So soft." Soon after, the director's voice rang out. "Time's up. Please bring your dishes to the table. The staff will begin tasting." The judges sat there, inexplicably starting to sweat. Everyone felt immense pressure. The dishes in front of them emitted a strong, dark aura, looking quite sinister. Zhang Ming and Jean stood to the side, watching the judges taste the food with awkward and helpless expressions. Zhang Ming whispered, "I suddenly feel sorry for the staff." Jean, Mutu. After being tormented by the poisonous dishes, the director announced, "The winners are Zwuda and Lin Yulua." The judges were nearly overwhelmed by the dark cuisine. After filming ended, the director said, "Everyone, take a lunch break. You've worked hard today. Go eat." Shu Ai looked bewildered. "Is this food edible?" Zwuda chimed in, "We'll be eating what we made for lunch today." The director echoed with a meaningful smile, "Right? We can't waste it." Everyone immediately started sweating, but they had no choice but to gather around and taste their own cooking, each taking a spoonful. Everyone thought to themselves, "Is it really that bad?" Just as they finished the thought, everyone immediately spat out the food, the scene filled with spitting sounds. After the disastrous lunch, Jean returned to her room, thinking it would have been better to starve than eat that meal. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. She was startled and opened the door to ask, "Who is it?" A hand suddenly reached out and blocked the door. Zwuda stood quietly at the doorway and said, "It's me." She was startled. "What do you want?" she asked. He turned his head shyly, holding up a lunchbox. "I saw you didn't eat much just now, so I brought you something." She replied, "No, thank you. I'm not that hungry." Before she could finish, he thrust the lunchbox into her hands. "I've already given it to you. Eat it or not, it's up to you." After saying that, he turned and left without another word. "I'm leaving." Back in her room, Dujin opened the lunchbox and found it was cake. But I hate sweets the most. But now, why can't I stop? She thought as she ate, feeling a little embarrassed. The scene cuts to 5 a.m. the next morning. A young man with a camera sneaks into Dujin's room. He pointed the camera directly at her face. Dujin suddenly opened her eyes and stared at him, startling him. What's wrong? Seeing her reaction, he quickly explained, Good morning. Teacher Do This is the wake-up surprise segment of our show. Still sleepy, she replied, Oh, okay. No problem. Who are we waking up next? The young man said excitedly, According to the rules, we'll go to the next room and surprise Zwuda, right? She gave him a helpless look. At this moment, Zwuda was lying in his room, staring at his phone. He was messaging Shuai Chung. You have to figure out what your sister-in-law likes. Cater to her preferences, understand. If she likes cars, B brand just released a new pink one. Just then, he heard a noise outside the door. Why did someone stop at my door? He wondered. Outside, Dujin was gently pushing the door open. Hearing the sound, Zwuda quickly lay down and pretended to be asleep, thinking, Who is it? Why did they suddenly come in? Dujin tiptoed in. He smelled a familiar, faint rose fragrance. Dujin, she came so early to catch me sleeping. Could it be that she already? He let his imagination run wild. Dujin Sigid. Why does it have to be him first? She reached out to wake him. Get up. He suddenly grabbed her hand. Due to the momentum, she fell onto Zwuda. He thought excitedly, Oh my god, this is too real. Teacher Do is so soft. His face flushed red. She, on the other hand, panicked completely, her face as red as a tomato. Seeing the man in front of her panting, his face even redder than hers, she thought angrily, Is this guy awake or still dreaming? At this moment, both their hearts were racing. Zwuda was completely unaware that the cameraman behind him had filmed everything. She desperately tried to calm herself down. The camera is still rolling. Dujin, you need to stay calm. Suddenly, he pulled her into his arms and hugged her tightly. She screamed, held deliberately in his embrace. Dujin cursed under her breath. Zwuda, you little jerk. Seeing this, the cameraman zoomed in closer. Teacher Du. She glared at him. Cut this part out. He nodded nervously. Okay. Zwuda continued to feign sleep, but his mind was divided. The rational side said, Teacher Do is only here because of the show. I told myself not to be impulsive. But the other side retorted, so what if I'm impulsive? It's great to be able to hug a beautiful woman. No loss. Keep pretending to sleep. Dujin, having finally freed herself from Zwuda's embrace, turned to the cameraman. Cut the previous part. Start from here. He agreed hurriedly. Okay. A while later, the filming ended. Walking out of Zwuda's room, Dujin breathed a sigh of relief. Thankfully, although it was a bit unexpected, it went smoothly. But I still need to remind post-production not to make any strange edits. Just as she was about to return to her room, the cameraman hurriedly called out to her, Teacher Do, your task isn't over yet. She turned around, looking tired. Didn't you say Zwuda would continue and wake up the others? The cameraman said with a smile, That's right, but there was a special guest who arrived last night. The director wants to give everyone a surprise, and we haven't met the guest yet either. This time, we need you to reveal the mystery for the audience. She was then led to the special guest room. The door plate only had a few question marks on it, piquing everyone's curiosity. She looked in surprise at the mysterious room right next to hers. Isn't this right next to my room? She thought. The cameraman handed her the key to the mysterious room. Please open the blind box. Let's wait and see, she said excitedly. Then, she opened the door. Entering the bright hotel room, she walked to the bedside. Teacher, wake up. Time for the show. The person in bed turned over groggily to look at her. Teacher Dujin. Seeing him, her cheeks flushed red. It was Feng Zijiao. He smiled gently. Long time no see. He sat up and gave Dujin a bright smile. I didn't expect we'd collaborate again in this way. She froze. Yes, Teacher Feng, I'm surprised too. Please have Teacher Feng get ready as soon as possible and then join everyone. After saying this, she took a few steps back and walked towards the door. I'll go out first, she said, turning and leaving. At this moment, Dujin was walking along the corridor. As she walked, she thought to herself, I didn't expect Feng Zijiao to be the other guest. What kind of karmic fate is this? Lost in thought, she walked to Zwuda's room. When a voice called out, Teacher Do. She was startled. Zwuda had been standing at the door for who knows how long. He asked, You don't look well. Did something happen? She turned away, ignoring Zwuda's question. Seeing this, he gave an awkward laugh. Sorry, I'm being nosy. After saying this, Zwuda went downstairs. She hadn't taken 3 steps when she said, I didn't. Hearing this, he turned to look at Dujin. She stammered, "Go. Good morning." Seeing her like this, Zwada softly replied, "Good morning. You're dressed too lightly. Go change your clothes. I just saw a car parked downstairs. It looks like they're preparing to go fishing. It's really cold outside." Hearing this, she stared at him blankly. Scene change. Everyone was stunned when the director announced they were going fishing, exclaiming in unison, "Huh, fishing." Everyone started discussing. Did I hear wrong? It's December now. Help, it's so cold. Where are we going fishing? Getting up at 5 a.m. to go fishing, freezing to death, and still having to go out. Seeing everyone's discussion, the director said, "Okay, everyone quiet down." Fishing was decided by the program team. The remaining special guest teacher will also be coming. He's here. She pointed to Feng Zijiao, who was walking over. He greeted everyone with a smile. "Hello, everyone." As soon as he appeared, everyone exclaimed, "It's Feng Zijiao. Movie Emperor Feng. The great god. The great god." Only Zwada was displeased by his appearance, cursing inwardly that Feng Zijiao, an old fox in the industry. How are we the same? At this moment, their eyes met in the air, as if a bolt of lightning had flashed. Seeing this, Du Jin thought in a daze. This misunderstanding will only get bigger and bigger. Feng Zijiao continued to chat and laugh with everyone. As for Zwada, his eyes looked as if he wanted to devour Du Jin alive. Feeling the murderous aura behind her, she thought helplessly, "Really? Does he want to kill someone?" The Huda stood beside Du Jin with a displeased expression, muttering, "Are you particularly happy to be in the same frame as him?" Huh? Du Jin was a bit confused by his words. She turned around, frowning and muttering to herself. What kind of tone is that? His fans are going crazy. I'm getting scolded just for working with him on a drama. Happy to be in the same frame. What a joke. As she complained, she imagined Zwa, Da's fan legion, and Feng Zijiao's army glaring at her. Seeing her troubled expression, he leaned in and whispered, "Teacher, Du isn't saying anything. Does that mean you're admitting you're happy to be in the same frame as your ex-boyfriend?" "Really happy." She blushed immediately. "Ex-boyfriend? What ex-boyfriend?" He was about to continue when the director interrupted. All right, stop chatting. You guys should go." Hearing this, she felt a surge of joy. Saved. She practically jumped up and said to everyone, "I'm coming," completely ignoring Zwada, leaving him standing there speechless, puffing out his cheeks in anger. Women. 10 minutes later, everyone arrived at the fishing spot. The staff member said to Du Jin, "Teacher Du, you and Teacher Feng will take the last car." Hearing this, she looked back and saw Feng Zijiao already standing there waiting for her, his eyes bright as the Milky Way, sparkling and full of smiles. His beauty was so dazzling that she couldn't help but think, too dazzling. She suddenly felt another gaze behind her and wondered, why is there another person glowing? She looked back and saw Zwada looking at her, and Movie Emperor Feng getting into the car with puppy dog eyes, his whole being glowing. She was immediately caught in a dilemma, thinking, why am I so annoying? Sitting next to either of them is a problem. She turned to Zwada and said, "Get in the car. Control your expression. It's for the show. There's no other way," she said, patting his shoulder. Seeing this, Zwada hesitantly replied, "Oh." Soon, Teacher Du and Feng Zijiao were sitting in the car. An awkward silence filled the car. No one knew how to start a conversation. At this moment, Teacher Kong in the front row turned around and gestured for Du Jin to speak first. Seeing this, for Teacher Kang's sake, she had to force herself. "I'll try my best." She broke the silence. "Teacher Feng, what have you been busy with lately?" He turned his head and replied indifferently, researching new scripts, summarizing past experiences, and going to the gym when I have free time. "It's been so long since I've acted, I'm a bit rusty." Then he said, "It sounds like Teacher Du's career is at its peak. You must enjoy collaborating with the younger generation, right?" Hitting the bullseye, she immediately retorted, "Collaboration depends on ability. Age is just a number. Every age group has unlimited possibilities." Hearing this, a sly glint flashed in his eyes. "Oh, then does Teacher Du think I still have a chance?" His words flustered her. She inwardly assessed Feng Zijiao. 3 years was enough time for a restless young man to mature, but he seemed to have gone in the opposite direction, becoming even more bold and direct. What spurred this change? At that moment, Teacher Kong turned around, coughed a few times, signaling them to be mindful of their words, as there were cameras in the car. Then she asked, "It's been a few years since your last collaboration. hasn't it? Zijiao replied, yes. The last time we worked together was when you directed Sword Dance. It's a shame that film never saw the light of day due to personal reasons. Hearing this, Teacher Kong sounded a bit melancholic. The filming wasn't halted because of you. The crew failed to do proper checks, and you were injured during the wire work. He replied cheerfully, I've fully recovered now. I just didn't expect teacher Du Jin to take a break during the rise of her career. I still hope we can finish that film. He looked at Du Jin as he spoke. Hearing this, she changed the subject. Actor Feng, look, the sun is rising. She gazed at the horizon in the distance. As the sun rises and the moon sets, the world changes and we journey through time. We make many choices and miss many others. No one can always make the right choices. The past is the scenery behind us, but we must still look forward. She turned and looked at him deeply. Feng Zijiao, am I right? Hearing this, he looked at her with surprise and confusion. After arriving at their destination, teacher Du got out of the car and was about to leave when Zijiao grabbed her arm. Du Jin, wait. I was being presumptuous just now. She turned back, her tone calm, as if nothing had happened. It's all right. It was just normal conversation. It wasn't presumptuous. He was surprised by her attitude. At that moment, Zwoda suddenly appeared behind teacher Du. Seeing him, Zijiao pretended to intimately adjust her hat. Du Jin, your hair is messy. A warm ray of sunlight filtered through the leaves and onto the ground. Du Jin quickly pulled his hand away and said, thank you. Her tone was cold. Actor Feng, please be mindful. There are cameras everywhere. Seeing this, he hesitated, his expression flustered. Then Zwoda cheerfully rushed over, pretending to be excited. Teacher Du, you're finally here. I've been waiting for you. He quickly urged her to leave. Teacher Feng, there's a beautiful lake over there. Let's go take a look. Du Jin looked bewildered. Zwoda pulled her along. Let's go, let's go. Du Jin was still a bit confused, but followed him. Don't pull so hard. Slow down. The two left, leaving Zijiao standing there alone. He wanted to reach out and call Du Jin back, but Zwoda turned around and glared at him fiercely, muttering, that old fox, always acting so high and mighty. Feng Zijiao retorted in a low voice, that kid sure has a sweet tongue. Everyone arrived at the fishing lake, excitedly running around. Wow, it's so beautiful. Teacher Kong stood with Zijiao and announced, Teacher Feng, you are today's skydiving guest. Please choose your teammate. Zijiao was still thinking about Teacher Du. Du Jin, all these years, we've kept our relationship within certain boundaries. I even thought you were an emotionless, high-functioning robot. A faint smile appeared on his face as he recalled the time he was still in a wheelchair. His assistant told him, Teacher Feng, this is the newcomer Du Jin has been personally mentoring recently. Hearing this, he felt a pang of disappointment. I didn't expect that during my break, you would find a young person who resembles me to stay by your side. So you do have feelings, and they're for me. Back in the present, he answered Teacher Kang's question, I want to team up with. Before he could finish, someone rushed over and called out to him, Teacher Feng, I'm your fan. I've always wanted to chat with you. Is that possible? He had originally intended to choose Du Jin as his teammate, but hesitated. It's all right. Norus. Then he smiled at the girl. Of course. The girl's face flushed with excitement. Thank you, Teacher Feng. While she was still chatting with him, she saw Zwoda and Du Jin walking close together on the other side. Teacher Du suddenly had a stomachache, thinking in pain, why at this moment? It hurts so much. Then Zwoda gently nudged her a few times. She turned her head to look at him and asked a question. He covered his mouth with his hand and whispered, choose me. Just then, Teacher Kong called out, Teacher Du, it's your turn to choose now. Hearing this, she immediately composed herself, thinking as she spoke, I choose. While she hesitated, Zwoda, standing behind her, looked at her with loving eyes, a sparkle in them, and the words, choose me, seemed to echo in her ears. Finally, she reluctantly chose Zwoda, and he jumped up with joy. A while later, everyone started fishing. Jiangming was the first to catch a fish, and he shouted excitedly, wow, this fish is huge. The people around him immediately began to praise him. You're amazing. Oh, not bad, not bad. The atmosphere was very lively, but where Du Jin and Zwoda were, it was unusually quiet. Just then, she sat there holding her stomach. Zwoda noticed and turned to ask her, Teacher Du, are you all right? Are you cold? As he spoke, he moved his chair closer. She was a little embarrassed. Why are you sitting so close? He He gave an innocent smile after hearing this. Of course, I want to keep you warm. Then, Zwida became serious again, holding her trembling hand and asking with concern, why are your hands so cold? Are you feeling unwell? But she just replied indifferently, I'm Yufine. Then she deliberately changed the subject. Do you know how to fish? But Zwida's expression remained worried, thinking to himself, she's clearly unwell. Why is she changing the subject? Is she that determined to keep her distance from me? Then he turned his head to answer her question. My dad loves fishing and always drags me along. We used to live in the mountains, right next to a river. There were a lot of fish to catch, and there weren't any restrictions. After Zwida finished speaking, he turned to her again and asked, want to learn? I'll teach you. Dujin smiled happily and nodded. He then handed her the fishing rod to try holding. First, you had to hold the rod firmly. His hand intentionally enveloped teacher Du's hand. Then Zwida put his arms around her from behind and continued to patiently instruct her. This fishing rod is short. It won't be too heavy. His hand held hers tightly. It startled her. At this moment, her cheeks flushed, and she secretly praised the boy behind her. His body is so warm. Zwida was still focused on teaching her how to fish, completely oblivious to the shyness on Dujin's face. This is for controlling the fishing line, and this is the reel used to secure the line. She listened shyly as he continued to explain, secretly looking back at him. That handsome face also held a hint of shyness, and he gave a smile that seemed to capture her soul. He was so charming. Okay, now I'll teach you how to cast the line into the water. He held her even tighter, making her panic. Then Zwida focused and said loudly like this, find the right spot, use some force, and cast the line. There was a swish sound. Zwida leaned closer to teacher Du's face, looked at her affectionately, and said softly, then you have to stare at the surface of the water and feel the pull on the line. She was mesmerized, her face full of shyness. Then what? She asked softly. He replied gently, wait for the fish to bite. She seemed to understand his meaning, her eyes widening in surprise, too shy to know what to do. It seemed she had even forgotten her stomachache. Just then, Zwida's phone rang. It broke the subtle atmosphere between them. It rang 5 times for more than usual. He glared at his phone impatiently to see who was calling. Jujin. Shouldn't she be in class? Why would she call me? Zwida's tone immediately changed, and he said somewhat awkwardly, sorry, Teacher Du, I have to take this call. She simply replied calmly, As soon as Zwida left, she looked thoughtfully at the 2 cameramen filming in the distance. Dujin called out in a low voice, hey, you two, what are you filming over there? Startled by her call, the 2 quickly responded, Teacher Du, is there something wrong? Dujin lowered her voice and gave them a heads up. That kid, Zwida, I brought him into the industry. He's still like a child and, to be honest, quite dependent on me. So sometimes he might get a little too close and his actions are inevitably a bit much. But we've all been in this business for so long. You should know what to film and what not to film, right? She glared at them coldly. Understood. The 2 cameramen were a little scared and quickly replied, Understood, we got it. Hearing this, Dujin's stern expression softened. Then please be careful during editing. On the other side, Zwida was answering his younger sister Zuyu's call. What is it? Hearing him answer, Zuyu said urgently, Brother, I found out about the thing you asked me to look into. Feng Zijiao is a cultivation idol. He won Best Actor when he was young and has much more seniority than Dujin. They first collaborated in a film, and Dujin was just a supporting actress at the time. Hearing this, he lowered his voice and asked, when did they meet? He lowered his head in thought, then asked again, so the person in the school uniform was actually Feng Zijiao. Zwida briefly recalled the mysterious photo. Zhao Yu, hearing his words, replied, how would I know? But they're friends privately. Feng Zijiao often comes to the set. I even heard that the accident 3 years ago, when he was injured doing wire work, seems to be related to Dujin. Hearing this, he looked worried. What does she have to do with it? The other person replied, I don't know the specifics, but after that incident, Dujin started keeping her distance from Feng Zijiao. Hearing her teacher's voice, Zuyu suddenly realized something and frowned. Zuyu, hey, you stop right there. You're skipping class again, young lady. As soon as Zuyu heard her teacher's voice, she started running, saying to him, gotta go, my homeroom teacher is after me. Bye. As soon as she finished speaking, Zuyu hung up the phone, leaving her brother looking helpless. Zwida looked up at the sky, lost in thought. Dujin, what kind of past and secrets are you hiding between you and Feng Zijiao? In the villa, Du-jin was asleep in her room, but her breathing was rapid, and she murmured, "No, no, please, help me." She suddenly woke up from the nightmare. When she opened her eyes, Zwida was standing in front of her bed, striking a pose, which startled her. "Shoo!" She sat up and gestured for him to come closer. "Come here." Hearing this, he happily obeyed. "Huh. Oh, okay." As he approached, she instinctively slapped his face and said angrily, "Striking poses by my bed in the middle of the night. Are you trying to scare me to death so you can inherit the company?" Zwida felt misunderstood and quickly explained, "You've got it wrong. I came to bring you something. These." He placed a puppy-shaped thermos and some stomach medicine in front of her. "This is brown sugar water and stomach medicine. I saw you weren't feeling well during filming today." Looking at the things in his hands, she was a little stunned. "I heard from your assistant that your stomach problems are quite serious. I even specifically asked Shuru what girls should drink when they're not feeling well, and she said brown sugar water. I didn't mean to scare you. I was going to turn on a light and wake you up, but as soon as I came in, you woke up," he said a little embarrassedly. Hearing him care so much about her, her cheeks flushed involuntarily. "It's okay. Thank you." She suddenly remembered something and asked Zwida, "By the way, how did you get in?" "I remember I locked the door." Hearing her ask this, he happily pointed to the balcony. "Your balcony window wasn't locked." Hearing him say this, she was at a loss for words. Returning to the previous topic of her health, he noticed she'd had a nightmare and asked, "You had a nightmare just now. Does this happen often? Have you seen a psychologist?" Hearing his question, she calmly took a sip of brown sugar water and replied, "Occasionally. I'll go see one when I have time." Hearing this, Zwida immediately said, "I secretly audited psychology courses at the neighboring university when I was in college. If you need it, I can help you." Du-jin looked at him skeptically. Seeing her disbelief, he added, "How about we chat now and test my skills? I'm guessing you're afraid of water, right?" His words stunned Du-jin. "When you were fishing this morning, you didn't dare look down at the water at all. You only dared to glance when a fish took the bait and then immediately looked away. You're not just having stomach problems. When filming Windswept, Li Shang said you never use the bathtub. That's because you're afraid of drowning, right?" "Teacher Du, don't be so tense. I'm not trying to expose your scars and embarrass you. I just want to say, you don't have to suppress yourself so much. I can help you." He reached out and hugged her. "Teacher Du, in front of me, you can be happy, angry, sad, whatever. It's all okay, as long as you don't avoid me, okay? I'm really sad when you ignore me." Suddenly, a knock on the door attracted her attention. A voice from outside said, "It's me, Zhao Zifeng. Are you asleep? I heard you had an upset stomach today, so I brought you some medicine." Hearing the name, she became annoyed and hugged him even tighter, surprising him. "Why is she suddenly hugging me so tightly?" Zwida gritted his teeth and said to her, "Don't let him in." Zhao Zifeng didn't hear a response. Are you already asleep? Then I'll go back to my room." Seeing him about to leave, she thought to herself, Go, hurry up and leave. Don't disturb our world." The person left, but Zwida was still holding her tightly, so she reminded him, "He's gone. Can you let go of me now? You're suffocating me." He finally released her and yawned. I'm so sleepy." "Teacher Du, go back to your room and rest." Du-jin responded with a sound. He suddenly lay down next to her, making her panic slightly. Zwida suggested, "Teacher Du, let's sleep together." Du-jin simply looked at the guy beside her with deadpan eyes. "Then you should go back to your own room and sleep." Zwida completely ignored her look and said seriously, "Do you really want me to go back?" "Cease." Du-jin pursed her lips and thought for a moment. Then she obediently lay down beside Zwida. He looked at her, a gentle gaze holding her eyes, before reaching out and taking her hand softly. "Sleep," he murmured. His action stunned her for a moment, leaving her unsure how to react. Their hands remained clasped together, their fingers intertwined. Zwida whispered again goodnight. Feeling his warmth, she gradually drifted off to sleep. She mumbled in response. The next morning in the room, Du-jin was still fast asleep. She reached out to her side, but found nothing there. The emptiness jolted her awake. Du-jin thought to herself, "It's so cold. He's probably been gone for a while." She yawned softly. "I can't believe I slept so well last night, just like in the car. Does what? To have some kind of sleep-inducing effect on me." Blushing at the thought, she started to make the bed. Du-jin then noticed a note on the bed, written in Zwada's handwriting. "See you tomorrow night." Seeing those words, fuming, she finished making the bed and began to put on her makeup. Du-jin then opened the door, and as she was about to leave, she saw Feng Zijiao and greeted him. "Oh, good morning, Mr. Feng." Seeing that she was awake, Feng Zijiao approached her. Hello, I've been waiting for you at the door. I want to give you this medicine last night. Are you feeling better now? Much better, thank you, Eugene replied. Downstairs, Zwoda looked up at her and Feng Zijiao, his expression darkening with displeasure. Fine, he muttered. Meanwhile, the editors were in the living room explaining the day's tasks to everyone. Now that everyone's here, let's begin. Today, we'll be filming and experiencing different aspects of life. Jean casually sat down in a chair. As soon as she sat down, Zwoda leaned in and whispered, "Did you sleep well last night?" The editor continued, "This time, we'll be drawing lots to experience different professions. However, this is an individual task, not a group one. Some locations may overlap, so you can help each other out." But all Jean could hear was Zwoda's voice, her heart skipping a beat. Embarrassed, she replied, "Can you not talk about this now? I kicked off the covers and didn't sleep well at all." Suddenly, the editor raised his voice. "All right, we have 8 cards here. Let's draw lots." Jean nudged him, slightly embarrassed. "We're filming. Hurry up and draw." "Roger that," Ms. Zwoda replied with a grin. The draw was complete, and the results were Zwoda, kindergarten teacher, Feng Zijiao, convenience store clerk, Shiru, milk tea shop employee, Feng Qingda, fruit shop owner, Shu Wendy, haunted house NPC, Jiang Jing, live streamer, Lin Yulio, clothing store clerk. Jean stared at her own card for a long moment. He immediately turned and asked, "Ms. what did you draw?" Jean looked bewildered as she held up her card for everyone to see. "What is this?" The card read, "Fun Experience." The editor leaned in for a closer look, excitedly exclaiming, as expected of Ms. "You drew the ace." After listening to the staff's explanation, her voice dropped. "So this fun experience card means I have to experience every single profession today." Ace. This is clearly a death card. The editor just laughed. "Haha, Ms. is just too lucky. Let's head out then. Our first stop is the kindergarten to see Mr. Zwa." Elsewhere, Zwoda had already begun his experience as a kindergarten teacher. "I thought outdoor activities were for the kids, but the children had already swarmed him. I want to hold your arm. Hold on tight. Let me climb, let me climb." Someone shouted, "Mr. Zwa, are you a tree?" Seeing Jean trying to suppress her laughter, Zwoda said helplessly, "Go ahead and laugh, but could you please save me first?" Zwoda struggled to peel a child off his arm. "Hey, why are you biting me? Little rascal, go play over there. Stop messing around." Seeing Zwoda's predicament, the head teacher laughed. "Haha, you're having a hard time." Suddenly, a kindergarten teacher came running over in a panic. "Mr. Zwa, something's happened. Please come with me." Seeing the teacher's anxious expression, Zwoda immediately followed her. The two spoke in hushed tones, and Zwoda's expression turned serious. Seeing his change in demeanor, Jean quickly stepped forward and asked, "What's wrong?" Seeing her concern, Zwoda explained, "It seems someone suspects a child went missing on their way to school. The police have been called, and they need help from a school to search, but all the other teachers are watching their classes. Ms. would you like to help me look for the child?" In the car, Zwoda explained the situation with a serious expression. "The little girl's name is Di Xuan. She's 6 years old, and today was the first time her dad took her to school on his electric scooter. But guess what? When they arrived at school, she had vanished from the back seat. And guess where we're going to look for her? A terrifying escape room. Jin was bewildert. A 6-year-old would like that kind of place." She asked, and Zwoda thought for a moment before saying, "Well, I heard she's quite stubborn. She doesn't have many friends at kindergarten, so whenever she's stressed or upset, she goes there. Her parents already gave us the address, so we'd better check there first." 10 minutes later, they arrived. "This is it," he confirmed, looking at the security room. Zwoda spotted something on the monitor and shouted, "Teacher, look, that must be her. We found her." His expression changed abruptly. "Oh no." She entered the tunnel. She's heading towards room 4, the sealed-off escape room. A staff member looked at them with concern. "Teacher, it might be difficult to find her. Room 4 is under maintenance. There's a problem with the electrical wiring, and we're still changing the theme. It's full of props. What's worse, the maintenance worker moved some walls last week, so we don't even know the layout anymore." She added. Hearing this, Jean and Zwoda's expressions changed instantly. "We can't waste any more time." Jean exclaimed, "We have to go in and find her right now. Go find someone to take us inside. We'll handle the rest." The staff member nodded hurriedly. Okay. The door to room 4 was pushed open. Someone led the way with a flashlight, followed closely by Zwoda and Jean. It was pitch black inside. Zwoda noticed Jean seemed a little scared. "Are you afraid of the dark?" he asked. Jean blushed slightly and whispered, "It's okay." Seeing this, Zwoda immediately took her hand. Jin's face flushed even redder. Zwoda softly comforted her. "Don't be afraid. I'm here." Don't be scared. The person leading the way explained, this room has been sealed for 2 weeks. We haven't had time to change the theme yet. How big is it inside? Zwida asked the staff member. The staff member replied, about 180 square meters. My colleagues and I used to be very familiar with this place, but unfortunately, the maintenance worker moved the walls and equipment for convenience, so I'm not sure about the layout now. They arrived at a door. Dujin asked curiously, is this the entrance? Seeing Zwida about to open the door, the staff member cautiously reminded him, yes, but you should. But Zwida was too quick. As soon as the door opened, a pile of ghost-shaped plush toys fell from the ceiling, making Dujin scream. The staff member scratched his face sheepishly. It's important to be mentally prepared. Couldn't you have warned us a few seconds earlier? Zwida glared at the staff member while comforting Dujin. You should have said something. Next time, I'll open the door. After calming down, the three returned to their main objective, finding Dixuan. Dixuan, it's Teacher Zwa. I'm here. Are you in there? Dixuan, please answer if you can hear me. Suddenly, the staff member noticed something unusual and pointed to the bedside. That's strange. There used to be a prop doll on this bed, about 10 centimeters tall. It would fall off if you touched its head. Now it's gone. Hearing this, Dujin asked Zwida, are we on the right track? Zwida whispered, I think so. Please continue leading the way. The staff member felt along the wall, as if searching for something. I remember there used to be a hidden door here. Where is it now? Zwida asked. Did the maintenance worker move it? The staff member pushed the dressing table aside forcefully, looking for the hidden door. Let me see if I can push it open. Zwida heard footsteps behind the wall and reached out to touch it. Wait, I think I hear footsteps behind the wall. He pressed his whole body against it, and the wall creaked, increasing his suspicion. Before Zwida could think further, the wall suddenly collapsed. He instinctively pulled Dujin into his arms to protect her, but lost his balance and fell backward. Zwida accidentally fell into the hidden door the staff member had mentioned, and the door took them both to another room. Then the door closed as if nothing had happened. What was that? Dujin groaned, struggling to sit up. Hearing the noise, she looked up and found Zwida shielding her with his body. Worried he might be injured, she anxiously asked, are you okay? Are you hurt anywhere? Does it hurt here? Any broken bones? Say something. As she spoke, her hands felt all over him, checking for injuries. Zwida said somewhat helplessly, stop touching me. You're touching me everywhere, my chest hurts. His words made Dujin blush instantly. In the dim light, her cheeks flushed crimson as she mumbled, you're still joking at a time like this. Zwida just grinned mischievously. Hee. Seeing him too weak to stand, Dujin quickly supported his shoulders, trying to help him up. Let me help you. Zwida didn't want her to overexert herself. I'm fine. It's just a minor injury, he said softly. She immediately frowned and retorted. Stop looking around so stubbornly. Dujin suddenly spoke. I'm wondering if that small flashlight still works. Let me look for it. I accidentally dropped it earlier. Zwida instinctively reached for the door, hoping it would open, but it seemed hopeless. He said helplessly, it's no use. The door is stuck. It looks like we're really playing an escape room game. Several loud bangs came from outside the door, followed by someone shouting, are you two all right? Zwida shouted back, we're fine, but the door won't open. The person outside, presumably a crew member, yelled with all their might, don't panic. There's a secret passage in your room that leads to the security room entrance. Find the exit first, and we'll meet you at the security room. Okay. Zwida replied, okay. See you later. The voice outside stopped. Then Dujin hesitantly called his name. Zwida. He immediately responded. Dujin said to him, I have good news and bad news. Which do you want to hear first? Zwida, unlike his usual cheerful self, lowered his eyes and cautiously replied, bad news. Dujin pointed at the pathetic, broken flashlight on the ground and said, unhappily, the flashlight is broken. She paused, looking a little flustered. Then, what's the good news? Tada. She held up her phone. My phone still has battery. Just when you thought things were looking up, Dujin added, but it's almost dead. If we put our phones together, maybe it'll last until we get out. It would have been nice if you hadn't poured cold water on me. As soon as Zwida finished speaking, Dujin's face fell. He gently patted her shoulder, coughed a few times to get her attention, and then softly comforted her. It's okay. Seeing his confident expression and comforting words, Dujin seemed to feel a lot more at ease. Let's find a secret passage first and talk about it when we get out. In the pitch-black room, the two fumbled around according to Zwida's instructions. Feel along the wall. Secret passages are usually hidden in the walls. Sure enough, Jin found the door. She pushed it open and exclaimed in surprise, "Oh, I found it." Seeing a long staircase in front of them, Zwada marveled. So they hid the secret passage in the wardrobe. How creative. We're trapped here and have to take these winding stairs, and you're still praising them. Jin scolded him angrily. "Why are you still praising them now?" He obediently replied, "Oh," with a hint of fear in his voice, but he still couldn't resist the thrill. Zwada's eyes lit up like searchlights as he urged her. "Let's go. Teacher Do. Let's go see." Jin thought helplessly, why is this kid so excited? Their footsteps echoed in the stairwell. Neither of them knew what awaited them downstairs. They were greeted by a shower of fluttering joss paper, which was quite amusing, making Zwada exclaim again, "Wow, the joss paper effect is amazing. This place is really something." Zwada's constant praise made the girl behind him lose her temper. She snapped, "Didn't I tell you not to praise them now?" Realizing she was angry, Zwada immediately fell silent and walked quietly in front, protecting the slightly timid figure behind him. Suddenly, a round, soft object hit Jin's foot. A head fell on my foot." Jin's scream was earth-shattering. She grabbed wildly and jumped on Zwada's neck, almost choking him. "Teacher Do, let go. You're strangling me." Cough, cough. Jin couldn't hear him at all, screaming as if someone was holding a knife to her throat. There's a head, a head, a head, After a moment of panic, the space seemed to return to calm. Zwada shone the flashlight on the head she had bumped into and whispered to her, "It's just a volleyball with a wig." He then teased her, "Teacher Do, your aloof image is completely ruined." Jin was so angry that steam was practically coming out of her ears, too furious to speak. You. Actually, Jin was more embarrassed than angry. Who would have thought that she, who was always cold and intimidating, was actually afraid of ghosts? She retorted shyly, "Why, you're talking nonsense." Seeing her cheeks flushed and her lips moist and red from embarrassment, Zwada's heart skipped a beat. He thought, although now is not the time to take advantage, I still kind of want to. Zwada's burning gaze fell on the panting girl in front of him, frightened. She probably didn't realize how captivating she looked in his eyes at this moment. In the ambiguous atmosphere, Zwada suddenly moved closer to Jin's face. His gaze lingered on her lips, startling Jin. She blurted out, "W, what are you doing?" Zwada then unabashedly revealed his thoughts, cheekily asking, "Teacher Do, want a kiss?" Jin's already flushed face became even redder, like a ripe tomato. She pressed her lips tightly together, perhaps secretly waiting. The entire room was filled with Jin's awkwardness. She asked him in confusion, "Why would we kiss here?" Even if Jin refused, Zwada's current position made it difficult for him to stop. He gently wrapped his arms around Jin's waist. Jin pretended to dislike it, but when his hand encircled her waist, she only gasped in surprise, offering no real resistance. "Hey you." Jin knew this was wrong. As his lips neared hers, she truly felt like she was going crazy, completely losing her mind. Reason and her racing heartbeat battled fiercely in her head. How could she, in this ambiguous and unspoken situation, actually be feeling something? Her mind screamed, yet her heart urged her closer to Zwada. In that instant, they almost turned the ambiguity into reality. Jin soudainly froze. Was she avoiding the kiss, or was something else on her mind? Zwada was stunned and a little disappointed. After a few seconds, he took a deep breath and composed himself. Unwilling to let the prize slip away, he pouted and pecked her cheek. "What's wrong?" Following Jin's gaze, he noticed something or someone. She blurted out in surprise, Look over there. Is that a person?" Zwada raised an eyebrow. A few seconds later, he recognized the small figure clutching a stuffed rabbit. Xiao Xuan. The child's face was dirty, her voice trembling with fear. "Are you two here to find me?" Jin crouched down and soothed her gently. "Yes, we're here to take you home. This is Teacher Zwa from kindergarten, but we're not going back to kindergarten today. We're going home together, okay?" Before she could finish, the child's mischievous words made them both blush. "If you two are here to pick me up, why are you doing naughty things here?" Even someone as quick-witted as Zwada felt that children these days knew too much. Later, after finally returning the child to her mother's arms, both of them felt a sense of relief. In any case, finding the child meant that all danger was over. Back to reality, under the quiet night sky and moonlight, they returned safely to the hotel. on the balcony outside her room. Doojin rested her chin in her hand, gazing thoughtfully into the distance. After a day of running around, she must have been exhausted. Lost in thought, her mind raced. "I've been running around all day. I'm really tired." She only snapped back to reality when she heard a familiar voice call her teacher. Duzwoda greeted her with a smile. "Good evening. Are you out here for some fresh air too?" She replied casually, "Yeah." Youth is wonderful. Zwoda didn't feel tired at all and excitedly asked her if she slept well last night. Doojin answered, but her tone was a bit low, as if she had been worn out by him. It was all right. As they chatted back and forth, the sudden sound of a new message notification on her phone was even more lively than Zwoda. Not wanting to keep him waiting, she said, "Excuse me, I need to reply to a message." He readily agreed, "No problem." The name Xinzichi appeared on the screen, along with a message about a film and a link. "The opening credits are done. Take a look and let me know when's a good time to release it." She glanced at the message. Since Zwoda was also involved, she asked him, "The opening credits are done. Do you want to see it? I can send it to you." Before she could finish, Zwoda interrupted her. "Yes, send it to me." His words were barely out before he prepared to climb over the balcony, leaving her stunned. "Hey you." With a powerful push, he jumped over. Zwoda didn't hesitate to leap from his balcony to Doojin's. He landed steadily in front of Doojin, startling her. Her eyes held a hint of worry. Doojin couldn't help but scold him. "Did you come over like this last night too? It was so dark. What if you couldn't see and fell?" Zwoda ignored her concern, patting down his rumpled clothes and pretending not to hear. "It's nothing." Doojin was speechless and didn't bother worrying about him anymore. She had to admit, the guy was a master of playing dumb. Figuring he wouldn't listen anyway, she changed her tack. "I'm old. I can't handle being startled like that." To change the subject and avoid being lectured, Zwoda suggested with a smile, "It's a little cold outside. Why don't we go inside?" She reluctantly agreed. All right. In a brightly lit room, they watched the film Zwoda starred in over and over again. He grinned. "It feels so amazing to see myself in a movie." Doojin added, "This film will be released next year, and then more people will see you, and you'll have more fans, so you should prepare well for your new role during this time." Okay. Zwoda's quiet diligence always surprised people. Feeling Doojin's approval, he couldn't help but ask directly, "Teacher Do, what do you think of my acting?" She praised him with a smile. "It's very good." Earlier, Zwoda had been squatting at Doojin's feet, showing respect for his senior. Now that he had the answer he wanted, he seemed ready to cross the line again. Zwoda casually sat down on the edge of the bed next to Doojin. Then, his large hand landed on her small shoulder, pulling her closer. She panicked for a few seconds and asked him, "What are you doing?" "He's really going too far now." Zwoda lifted her chin, gently caressing it, losing control before he could even speak. He did those things, yet wouldn't allow Doojin to refuse, just like in the secret room, ignoring her protests, kissing her with longing and regret. From then on, he said, or rather, he would do what he hadn't had time to do in the secret room. In the silent room, all eyes were on them. Zwoda's possessive kiss flustered Doojin, her mind filled with nothing but his kiss. Zwoda finally released those bright red lips after a long, lingering kiss. Doojin could still taste the sweetness of his kiss. Was it strawberry? How could it be so sweet? Her charm is truly maddening. His deep gaze never left her lips. Doojin had never felt this way before. This willing surrender that made it impossible to think, and she didn't refuse at all. Seeing the blush on her face, he finally and reluctantly pulled himself away from the temptation, a task harder than picking stars. The sweet taste of honey that had flowed from his lips still lingered on Doojin's tongue. She shyly asked him what he had just eaten. Hearing this, Zwoda, seemingly still unsatisfied, replied ambiguously, "I just ate some candy. Do you want to try some?" "Teacher." As he spoke, he lifted her chin again and opened his mouth. Doojin's heart trembled at his words. The temptation was irresistible. She thought shyly, if it were him, she wouldn't want to resist at all. Doojin knew this was wrong, but proper thoughts kept surfacing in her mind. She wanted to take things one step at a time, like a normal person. But in front of Zwoda, she could only close her eyes, the anticipation of his kiss making him chuckle softly. Finding her adorable, he took out a piece of candy and popped it in her mouth, teasing, "What are you thinking about?" Teacher Do only then did Doojin feel embarrassed, puffing out her cheeks as she looked at his playful expression, thinking, "He really has me wrapped around his finger." Perhaps because she was too cute, Zwoda couldn't help but give her another light kiss. Before she could react, you escaped her lips, and Zwuda snatched back the candy he had just given her. He really knew how to tease her. He crossed his legs and continued to tease her relentlessly. The lemon flavor is not bad. Did you taste it? Only then did she realize she had been tricked, feeling both embarrassed and annoyed, and she said petulantly, "Enjoy it yourself." Zwuda was truly incorrigible, continuing to tease her from behind. Why do you become more like a child the closer we get? You get angry when someone steals your candy. Jean was so irritated by his teasing that she wished he would leave quickly, blurting out, "Go back, I'm going to sleep." Zwuda guessed she was hard to appease, so he played his last card. "Then I'll give it back to you. Don't be angry." His words made her even more embarrassed, and she turned around to retort, "Who wants yours?" Just then, before she could react, Zwuda suddenly pressed her against the wall. She understood his intentions all too well, and the slight resistance she had felt earlier was gone, replaced by her dudong dujula jong yodi wand giwata, actively covering his smooth-talking mouth. "Get it back to me." The ambiguous atmosphere was interrupted by a rhythmic knock on the door, followed by a voice. "Teacher Du, are you there?" The voice belonged to Shu Wendy. Zwuda's face darkened, and he said the name with displeasure. Shu Wendy. Jean quickly shushed him. Shu Wendy kept trying to push the door open from outside, an action that annoyed them both, inwardly cursing her audacity to barge in. Seeing that Shu Wendy was about to open the door, Jean quickly pulled Zwuda into the wardrobe. She felt that if anyone saw them in their current state, it would be impossible to explain. Standing in front of the closed wardrobe, she felt a mix of emotions. Inside the cramped space, Zwuda curled up, trying not to fall out, thinking, how did things get to this point? After some commotion outside, Shu Wendy finally poked her head in, startled like a mouse. Jean cleared her throat. "What's wrong?" Caught in the act, Shu Wendy suddenly panicked, or rather feigned panic, explaining in a small voice, "I'm sorry, Teacher Du, I have something urgent right now, so I barged in." Jean, uninterested in these excuses, interrupted her directly. "Come in." A click came from behind her as Shu Wendy locked the door. Who knew what mischief she was planning next? Jean heard it too, suspecting that this person was definitely up to no good. Locking the door, huh? Shu Wendy immediately lifted her shirt, revealing her slender waist, turning her back to Jean and presenting her backside. This impolite gesture stunned Jean, her mind filled with question marks. Jean instinctively covered her face to shield her eyes, screaming, "What are you doing?" Seeing her cold expression, Shu Wendy quickly waved her hands in explanation, afraid of being misunderstood. No, I just want to show you that I'm on my period and I stay in my skirt, but because my top is a bit long." Wringing her hands pathetically, she turned to Jean and said, "I came to borrow a sanitary pad. I just realized I didn't bring any, and there aren't any shops nearby. My cycle must be off because of my irregular schedule lately, so it came early." Hearing this, Jean sympathetically replied, "I'll find one for you." She then walked towards where the sanitary pads were kept, but just as she was about to reach the cabinet, she suddenly froze. Panic flooded Jean's face as she remembered something important. Zwuda was in the closet next to her suitcase. She hesitated, thinking, no way, the sanitary pads are in the suitcase. The suitcase is in the closet, and Zwuda is hiding in the closet. So she cleared her throat, reminding Zwuda to compose himself and pretend nothing was happening. If anyone saw him, there would be no way to explain it. "Don't peek." Zwuda understood and obediently moved aside, so Jean could get her things. He looked like a child who hadn't gotten his candy. But just then, Shu Wendy suddenly walked in, looked around, and said, "Teacher Du, your room smells so nice. What perfume do you usually use?" Jean, who was being sneaky, was startled. She could hear Jean's voice and felt just as nervous. Seeing this situation, she felt a surge of anxiety. Where should I hide now? Just then, Shu Wendy suddenly approached her, and Jean cried out in fright, "Ah, you." At that moment, a loud bang came from the closet, making the atmosphere even more awkward. Zwuda had quickly squeezed himself into the corner of the closet. She quickly bent down to get the suitcase and said to Shu Wendy, "Wait a moment, there are too many things here. I need to look for it." After saying that, Jean glanced at Zwuda, as if saying, "Can't you be quieter?" He was trying to steady himself by grabbing the clothes on the hangers. Receiving that dreadful look, Zwada awkwardly looked away, understanding her blame, and muttered under his breath, "This place is really too small." But because he used too much force, the clothes in Zwada's hand suddenly slipped. He was startled, his eyes widening, and in his panic, he subconsciously threw the clothes out. The dress flew out and landed right on Doojin's face. Seeing this bizarre scene, Shu Winnie asked in confusion, Teacher Do, this dress, how did it fly out? Is someone playing a prank in your room?" Rubbing her head where the dress had hit her, she frowned and replied, "How is that possible? I accidentally bumped the hanger." Knowing Doojin was glaring at him, Zwada blushed and muttered, "I was just on top of the clothes. I just realized," cough. After a while, he finally found the sanitary pad and gently handed it to Shu Wendy here. Doojin immediately pushed her towards the door and said earnestly, "Hurry back to your room and get yourself sorted." Shu Wendy took the sanitary pad and smiled brightly. "Thank you, Teacher Do." With that, she quickly left. At this moment, Zwada stuck a foot out of the closet and sat on the edge, anxiously asking Doojin, "Is she gone?" She scratched the back of her head tiredly, glanced at Zwada, and replied, "Probably." He immediately came out of the closet and looked down at Doojin, who was picking up the dress from earlier, and said, "Go back to your room. I'm going to sleep." Hearing this, Zwada asked somewhat disappointedly, "Didn't we agree to meet tonight?" She hung the dress back in the closet and calmly replied, "That was just your one-sided announcement." But Zwada suddenly stepped forward and hugged her from behind, resting his chin on her shoulder, and whispered, "Wait a little longer." He whispered in her ear again, "I missed you." As soon as he finished speaking, Doojin retorted impatiently, "We see each other every day. What's there to miss?" Zwada just smiled and explained, "I mainly wanted to rest my leg. I bumped my leg in the escape room and didn't bring any medicine." Hearing this, a look of concern flashed across her eyes. Doojin quickly turned to look at him and asked with concern, "Your leg hurts. What does it hurt? Is it serious?" Seeing that he had finally captured her attention, Zwada pointed to his leg pathetically and said, "It's really serious. It hurts so much just now, I probably can't even walk now." Hearing this, Doojin hurriedly pulled him to sit on the bed. "Come here, sit down. I'll get you some medicine." But before she could leave, footsteps came from outside again. She immediately recognized it as Shu Wendy. In her panic, Doojin shoved Zwada onto the bed and forced him under the covers, hiding him like a giant caterpillar. Doojin hurriedly turned and walked towards the door, not forgetting to remind Zwada, "Be quiet." She couldn't help but feel annoyed. Why is she back again? He looked at Doojin's back from the bed and sighed helplessly. She's quick to react. Doojin peeked her head out the door, looking like she was just about to go to bed. Shu Wendy stood outside, looking shy and hesitant. Doojin was as helpful as ever. "Yes, wait a moment, I'll get them." Shu Wendy blushed and thanked her softly. After she left, Doojin stood in front of Zwada, who was wrapped in his quilt like a caterpillar, only his head showing. "Is she really gone this time?" Doojin crossed her arms and said indifferently, "Gone. Seems like it." Zwada grumbled with a wronged expression. "This leg of mine was just a minor injury, but with all this getting in and out of bed, it's going to be crippled." Doojin, absent-minded, simply pulled him out of the quilt, causing him to yelp. Zwada held his head, looking defeated. "I've noticed this many times. You look so thin and frail. How are you so strong?" Doojin rummaged through a drawer and tossed him a bottle. "Here, spray it on your leg." Zwada politely accepted it. "Thanks." After spraying it on his leg, he looked up at her, his eyes full of reluctance. "So I'm really going now?" She replied without hesitation, "Yes." "Hurry up and go, don't dawdle." He looked at her with a pitiful expression. "Wow, you're really not keeping me at all." He placed the spray bottle on the cabinet, looking disappointed. "Okay, goodbye." He then proceeded to climb over the railing to leave, causing Doojin to freeze. So Zwada suddenly remembered and quickly jumped down. "Oh, I forgot I'm injured. I can't climb over the railing." He then started to limp back to the room, theatrically. Force of habit, muscle memory, you know. Zwada brushed past Doojin, but she couldn't bring herself to reach out and stop him. A cute blush suddenly appeared on his face as he turned around happily and asked, "Change your mind." Zwada immediately stepped back. "No, I just wanted to say, tomorrow is Christmas." He looked bewildered. Does the production team have anything planned for tomorrow?" She couldn't stand his obliviousness any longer and lightly knocked him on the head. "How can you even forget your own birthday?" He rubbed his forehead, suddenly realizing, "Oh, right, tomorrow's my birthday." His expression turned slightly melancholic. "I haven't really celebrated my birthday since I turned 18. I forgot myself. He lowered his head. Jean blushed, fiddled with her hair, and looked away, softly hinting, I have a present for you tomorrow. He screamed internally, help. How can she be so charming? He smiled slightly, silently looking at her, while a war raged within him. She's like a combination of an elf and poison, making my heart restless. I really want to kiss her to satisfy my craving, but I've already tasted it today. I have to stay calm. Zwoda leaned closer to Jean and asked playfully, can I have a hint? Jean smiled mysteriously. Secrets are only surprising if they're kept secret. He closed his eyes and gently kissed Jin's hair. Finally understand, my silly teacher. I thought I'd have to be heartbroken 100 more times before I could receive your love. Her face flushed as red as a ripe tomato, and she stammered, trying to shoo him away. Go back to your room. Zwoda laughed and waved. Yes, ma'am. He blushed and glanced back at her one last time before leaving. Back in his room, he tried to be as quiet as possible. Just as he was smugly entering, he bumped into Feng Zijiao, who had just finished showering. The two made eye contact, and the atmosphere became awkward. Zwoda scratched his head, breaking the silence. Good evening. Teacher Feng. Feng Zijiao went straight to the point. I recall you two haven't known each other for very long, right? Zwoda gave a wry smile. Yeah, not as long as you've known her. Zwoda suddenly teased. But it's strange, the distance between you two seems even further than just friends. Feng Zijiao didn't respond to his teasing, but instead began to lecture him. Young people should know their limits. He continued to warn, some things are within reach, and some are only a distant dream. Perhaps you understand this principle too.